I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider. Because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veilless mystery. But so flashing forward, I still wanted to learn animation, but it was impossible at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics, And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out. And with each exercise, it builds up on each other. And as a result, I start seeing, the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head. And it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive, my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you going to join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream. Good to be back, good to see you all. I've been missing you all. I've been missing, doing these live streams, but I can't pretend that I was not enjoying myself. I had a nice little break away with my family for my father-in-law's 70th, and believe it or not, my mum turns 80 tomorrow. And I'm not going to be able to be with her, so that's a bit sad, but I'll make it up to her later in the year, because she's in London and I'm in New Zealand. But I'm back now, and we're now going to be looking at your work, looking at all of the great work that you guys have been posting diligently while I've been away, and it's a lot of stuff. And as I said, I always say I can't promise to look at everyone's work, but I somehow end up doing it as best as I can. So if I can't make every post in today's stream, I will catch up on another stream. We'll do another one of these streams, and we'll look at some of the more interesting posts that I perhaps missed. As usual, before I start involving all you amazing people in the chat and saying hello to you, if you can suggest a character for me to break down, we like to start the stream with some drawing guidance. So whatever, I'll just Google it. I may have seen it before, I may not have seen it before. That's what makes it so much fun. and I'll tell you what I can see, what shapes I can see, all the things that I can see, and we'll do a bit of drawing at the start, and then in the next half of the stream we'll look at your work. So absolutely loving the support I'm getting for my traditional drawing work. That's where my heart is, doing blue pencil character drawings and storyboards. It's always where my heart is. I was never really shared that with you all because we're living in the digital age, and I thought people like to see things moving. But a few videos that I've done of just sitting with the sketch pad, people seem to like it, so thank you. I mean, that's, if I could just make videos like that for the rest of my life, I would, but there's not as much training going on in that. But I definitely will be making more of those videos. Okay, I see we're getting a few suggestions, so let's speed this thing up. I love catching up with you all, but you know me, like to stick to the R in the background, keeping it real, get some real value, some real information in as short as possible time as I can while I'm with you all. So we've got the lovely Hervonia Baker starting off, and Animake. Hi, how are you? Caden Valdez, good to see you back. The Amazing Life Fantasy. Dylan Draws. The Ever Shining Copper Stars. Charlene, Charlene Giles is there. I followed your new Instagram account, Charlene. So I'm still working. I got to draw a woman named Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. I remember that. I was in the Sega Saturn camp while everybody else was in the Sony PlayStation camp, and that was actually being programmed for the Saturn first, and then it got released on PlayStation first and become a big PlayStation thing. Sheba Slump, how are you? Cameron Allen Davidson Black, good to see you. Familia, well, that's a nice name, reminds me of family. The Hippo Dancer from Fantasia. I remember you asking that before, Charlene. Maybe we'll look at that. That's a fun one. Thank you very much, Dylan and Live Fantasy. Mr. Leon, there he is. Mr. Leon, you sent me a message. I might get round to doing a little talk about that, a talk video about that message, about Glenn Keane not being able to visualize things in his mind and being very different to Milk Carl. Very interesting, since I'm always talking about visualization. Very interesting talking point, Mr. Leon. Perhaps I'll do a stream about that or a video about that, answering that letter. Appreciate that. Thank you, Cameron. Tetro Volt, welcome back. Good to see you, Tetro. Long time. Alphonse Elric from FMA. Yeah, we've got a lot of new members. Real Animator Training Library is always been since I started. That's what I love about this Tetro. It's always been on the rise. It's always been on the way up. Okay, let me. I'm gonna do the hippo, but I just want to see what Alphonse Elric is. Dylan Draws always throws me these weird characters that I've never heard of. But I wanna do something for Charlene, because I promised her that I would do that character. Okay, well that's an interesting character. That's a very easy character. All right, let's do the hippo from Fantasia. But before I do the hippo from Fantasia, I'll just very quickly, because I'm not gonna do a tidy drawing of this. I'll just very quickly show Dylan how simple this character is. Okay, so let's get rid of me. I'm gone, right? Okay, I've just quickly Googled this, right? So let's first see if you're getting my mic. Yes, you are. Okay, now you aren't going to see what I've Googled, but this character is all about shape simplification, right? Hopefully nothing has been disconnected when that noise came. Unfortunately, if I'm slightly move my machine. Okay, you can see all that, right? So this character, right? I'm not even going to save it. He's all shape simplification. So you want to take a square like this, right? And he's very, very flat, but the flatness is where we start making shapes within, right? So we're going to create a curling shape like this. I'm going to be very fast because I want to get to the hippo, right? And then we're going to divide that, right? And that's where it's probably going to be, looking from this angle, it's probably divided more from that third there. Then we're going to go straight up, and we're going to come in here and give him his collar, right? Which is in the middle bit here, right? So let's say that he's got a collar here. Now we're going to come here, create a round shape here like that, right? So this is all very flat, but now we're creating planes within that flat shape like that, right? Then we're going to create, this is creating a plane going like this, and then this is creating a curve, but this very flat plane going like this. So again, I'm being very, very quick here, Dylan, because I didn't really want to do this drawing, but I want you to just see the mentality that goes behind this stuff. So say I've made this shape here, we're just going to put a line here to create the plane going on the other side like that, right? And that's going to curl around, and I may want to curl around there in my mind to imagine how that'll be coming around the back, right? Now he's got these massive shoulder pads, right? So we're just going to do that, creating a plane going around here in this flat shape, and we're just going to reinforce that by adding lines to help that in, and a spike maybe coming vertically up off here like this, right? So then again here you've got like planes coming around. We're going to have this one, and this is offset, so again we're going to have this spike, one pointing this way and one pointing this way to create that illusion. Then we create the off perspective, right? Then around here we're going to go round and down. Now the head is the the bit everybody likes, but before we do the head, let's talk about the hand. Let's create a flat kind of like a rectangle, put a little triangle on top. Mr. Leon will like this, and then in the middle we'll just divide all that for his fist and put a little kind of rectangle on there for his thumb. And it literally is that because he's a robot mean guy or whatever, and he can look more angular, right? Again here we want to put more planes, so we're going to create a cutting line in here and around here like that, and now we've suddenly got a insertion point. Let me just rub some of these lines that I've been using to explain to you all these out, to tidy it up a little bit. Now the head, right? So the head again is going to be a big kind of flat shape like this. Back in the day we'd go, oi, dickhead, right? Because it's got a funny shaped head, right? So anyway, so that's round like that, right? Now again, the same thing is the whole plane thing. So they're gonna, if you want, you can divide it into thirds. This chunk, you can divide it into thirds. We're gonna put a slight curl on that, right? And then what you want to do is, it's not as rounded as I made it. Too busy thinking of, oi, dickhead, right? So then along here, you're going to want to flatten it off. Now, just as it's like it's got a jaw and anatomy and facial stuff, so this is going to represent the zygomatic mask or the maxillary mask, if you want to include the maxilla. What's a maxilla? Well, the maxilla, if you have the frontal portion of the skull, right, so you have the zygomatic bone coming out here, the frontal bone coming here, the nasal bone, right, coming here, right, and then coming in from the zygomatic bone, you have this, which is the maxilla bone, right, and then the jawbone comes here, He-Man, He-Man, Charlene, there we go. Anyway, so we have that. So here we're going to divide that in the middle. Now this is the middle because he's got, it's an angular portion to his, there's an angular portion to his face. The reason I said that's the middle, and because I've got this jawline here. So if we look here, there's 2 even halves in there like that, right? So that's the maxilla sorted out. So now I can think about jutting that jaw forward. Remember how we say we've got to like create three-dimensional illusional three-dimensional planes, so we jut that jawline forward. We're going to kind of imagine bringing this in a little bit like that, right? So this is going to come down, and the square is going to be here like this, and we're going to go straight up and into the jaw here like that, right? So quite simple. Maybe that was a little extreme, that line there. The reason I did that is because that's where he's got his strap jaw. This is a bit of He-Man, isn't it? Trap jaw. He's got his strap jaw style mouth there. You buffoon. So there we go, like that. Then we've got his, he's got these lines here like this, and his eye, which is his helmet, is a little bit more there like that, which comes here like this, and the other eye comes like that. Right, so I'm going to take away this middle line now, so we can see what that looks like. Let's just erase some of that. Right, so now there's the rest of it that'll make his head look more in character. So we've got this jutting forward like that, coming straight up off the edge here, just coming out a little bit. We've got his, we can make him have a kind of little hat along the side. You see how that all nicely fits there? Then in here we can put a little bit of cogwheel and have that coming around, whatever his, I don't know whether it's a cogwheel or anything like that. I really don't know, but you can see how easy all this is, right? If you just apply the basic secrets of Mr. Leon, what are we applying? We are applying the basic secrets of secret science of shape simplification. I don't know why I used that accent, but it beats the cliched German genius because of Einstein. The secret science of shape simplification. Turning him into a Frenchman at the end there, right? So anyway, so there we are. That is Dylan. That was a very quick, kind of crude scribble of Alfonso Eric, right? I didn't really want to do it. I'm going to move on to the hippo from Fantasia, but you can see in all about, maybe about 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, we'll say. Let's just storyboard flip that. Yeah, that works in inverse. So you could tidy that up or whatever. Hopefully that's given you some nuggets. Let's get rid of that. So we got a breakdown there. Though that was a nice drawing of him doing some kind of karate pose. Anyway, let us look at Hippo Fantasia. Oh man, now this is drawing, this is posing. Wow. Okay, there's a rough animation drawing and there's a really nice pose that I want to do. Somebody's done some line art of that pose in a Learn How to Draw, and they've killed the life out of it. So I'm gonna look at the original. Let's save that as a JPEG. Thank you. Just bear with me, I'm just saving stuff. I'm gonna save that one. And there's another really nice pose that I saw, which is a original frame of animation, which I'm much more interested in. So I'm gonna look at this one first, right? So again, we're gonna be kind of quick here, and then and then I'm gonna do another drawing, right? But I just love this drawing. I mean, this film was released in 1940, right? So this drawing was probably still done at the back end of the 30s. This just goes to show you how this stuff, how backdated this stuff is that I'm trying to it's nothing new what I'm sharing here. It's the good stuff, right? I'm reminding people of the quality that was animation, real animation, right? This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm reminding people we're so far removed from this stuff. And maybe by going back to it, just like everything in the universe is circular, maybe by going back to it, it feels fresh and it's interesting. But I don't care about all that. I'm just here to make sure that the future generations of animators are real animators. They're not digital puppeteers. They're not software dependent tools. They're not tools of a tool. They are 100% legit artists who are 100% confident and trusting in their own abilities as real animators. Right now, I'm just looking at this silhouette. Just look at this silhouette, man. Look at that. Look. Good call, Charlene, right? Just look at that silhouette. Wow. Is that or is that not a solid, strong pose? Let's just flip the scene and inverse it. Maybe I need a bit more on this side, right? This is the time to sort your posing out before you go. Now, Mr. Leon said Glenn Keane could never do this, and not many people like to do this. This is what the great Milt Kahl did, drawing silhouettes. Well, I'll let you into a secret. I don't draw this way either myself. But what am I doing right now? I'm studying. I'm training. That's what real animated training is all about. That's what training is all about. It's about studying, developing new abilities, developing new skills, not staying within the comfort zone and doing what you know. If you did that, if most people did that, there would be no good animation. Wait a minute. I guess most people are doing it now. Right, but anyway, so I do this to train myself, to my subconscious to think about silhouette, and it's worked because my personal drawing has skyrocketed even beyond my days in the industry when I was working in hand-drawn animation, beyond those points. Right. Before we go any further with this, let's talk about the silhouette. Let's talk about some major things here that I've observed from this silhouette. Look how this kind of lines up with this. It's all kind of perfect within this. And then this kind of like goes off. It lines up, but it just goes off to the side like that. Then we want to see how these kind of shapes exist here like this, and how this is basically, so that's basically our silhouette, right? It's those the harmony between those shapes, right? That's what makes the pose so fascinating. Right, let's go in here now and start putting together the character, right? So I'm gonna switch more into kind of a construction thing, so you don't just watch me draw and me pretend to you that the fun that you're having in watching me draw is that you actually learning something, which is what a lot of other people do. No, I keep it real. So let's switch from drawing into talking about construction, right? So we've got this circle for the head, and we've got this circle for the snout, right? Then we've got the center line, and we're going to want to imagine the center line. We're always going to want to imagine these things being rounded like that, right? Now, coming in from this side, you could say that we could put a little triangle there to figure out where the nose is going to be, right? And I've intuitively done it the other way, but I'm going to look at the drawing a little bit more as I'm just glancing. So, as we're going around here like this, and we're coming up, we're then going to find the center line around about here, which is where we're going to think about putting the eyes, right? So we got one eye here now. She has got two eye widths apart, right? So the other eye is going to be here like this. Then we're going to think about putting a little bit of framing around that. there like that. Now I'm going to deviate from my silhouette very slightly as I start to put some detail in this character. Now around here is going to be where the cheeks are, like that, right? Then we're going to shoot down, and then we're going to take that circle out and make more of a circle like this, right? And the mouth is just going to sit at the bottom. You see how we've constructed the hippopotamus's face, right? The water horse's face, right? There we go. Now, this is ingenious, right? This is the middle line, right? But coming around from this thing here, they're coming straight down, but putting a little bit of a sternocleidomastoid thing here, but they're going kind of straight down like this, and within this shape, right, they're just curling it around like that. See how that all fits in nicely, right? Then we've got the shoulder flab or flap, or the skin fold, which is just awesome, which is going to cut in down here like that. So let's talk the shoulders now. Let's go straight to the other shoulder to balance it out. We're going to come down like that, and we're going to go straight down over this side in here. You see, now this line is then going to come in and down to contour out. You could continue it straight, but the subtleties are we're going to bring it down and in. It is a straight line and a negative triangle, but this is what separates the real animators from the people who just think too basic with software pre-programmed shapes, right? You're going to throw in a bit of an anatomical knowledge in there, right? So then here the animators actually gone and drawn this in my beloved blue pencil. So the middle line is actually in the middle here somewhere. I'm figuring out that because he's drawn this in blue pencil, even though it's kind of, I think it's covered up. You don't see it. For some reason it's in blue pencil and the rest is dyed down in black. So I'm trying to make sense of why. Right, so then this has come here like that, right? So now we've got some body going in there. Now here we're going to get the nice, look how all this lines up, right? In fact, they've got a little bit out, which is better, but you don't want to do it too much because that's why you get drawing imbalances. And let's face it, while you see me do it here and there, mainly to show you, it's just to check. You don't see me invert the drawing. What I can't stand, right, when I see a lot of these digital painters and all this is when they when they invert the drawing and they start drawing in inverse and they invert it back and they start drawing. This is insecurity. Of course it's good to check and make a few fixes when you can, but if you understand all this stuff, you don't need that kind of crutches. Okay, another thing about being a real animator, all right, is just understanding structure, right? Yes, your drawing should work when you flip it, and sometimes I find that mine doesn't, but big deal. It's not the only drawing I'm going to do. It's not the last drawing I've ever done. These are things that you need to get good at, and the only way to get good at it is to get things wrong, and to familiarize yourself with these structural processes, right? So the nails, the fingers are going to come down. So this basically, I'll explain this for you, right? So this hand is the wrist, and all of these are kind of shooting out from this point, right? So this is coming under hair, curling this way, and she's got her little pinky coming up here like that, right? Now, isn't that nice? So we're going to come in on there. Now here we've got some foreshortening. You see, I've got things a little bit small here, but that's okay. That's what happens. So we come around here. I'm not going to go and cry in a corner about it and beat myself up, because I can fix it, right? So then here we've got like this nice oval shape, which is going to give me some foreshortening on that hand, right? Isn't that just looking at that, absolutely loves this. Absolutely love looking at the way this thing is put together. Now we're going to foreshorten the hand, right? So we foreshorten the hand with a rectangle, a curved rectangle like that. And then we think about the direction of the fingers, right? We think about the direction of the fingers with these nice little triangles. So let me just soften that, was just to explain to you. Right, so here this finger is going to come out, and then this one is going to come in here like that. And then the thumb is going to come out here like that. Isn't that just 1930s, this drawing? Because, you know, the film was released in 1940. That hand is absolute class. Right? You just saw that robot, that anime robot that Dylan asked me to draw. I've already forgot its name. With all due respect, Dylan, it's just weak in comparison, extremely weak. This might not be cool to all the young video game playing boys. I get that, but you know, when you're training to get good at drawing, you got to go past being a consumer. You just got to understand what class is, you know, what real skill, what all of this is, and then, you know, then you're going to start to see the difference in your own work. By all means, go and apply that to that stuff that you like, but don't disregard this stuff. That's why I'm here. I'm here to remind you all, you want to be class, you got to look at class. You want to be quality, you got to look at quality. A lot of you are too busy being consumers. You're looking at the stuff you enjoy. Nothing wrong with that. You're inspired. You want to create content, and I'm here to help you create that content. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing, right? But as I said, you got to separate yourself. You want to be class, you got to look at class. You know, in many ways, I do the same thing. Like, I used to love Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. I still do. I thought that was absolute class. It's class, all right, but not in comparison to the Milk Hall, you know, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnston, John Lounsbury, you know, Floyd Norman, Wolfgang Reitherman. You know, these guys are the absolutes, right? So I go back to them, and suddenly my own work skyrockets, right? Why? Why? Because I'm looking at the stuff that was influencing the stuff that I was watching, thinking was class, right? So please don't take offense to the things I'm telling you. If you feel a little bit hurt, you just said the show I liked wasn't class. It's class in another way, right? It's inspired you, and you're going to do amazing things. But if you want to get to this a really good level, then you got to start studying class. I'm just talking away here because I think what I'm telling you is actually more important than me explaining to you the technique of how to draw this rah-rah dress or whatever. But I'm gonna explain that to you, right? So you want to think of animating things as basic shapes. So if you're doing a skirt like this, you're gonna think of it as a basic shape, right? And then you're gonna start putting however many, like according to what's happening in the twisting of the garments, you're gonna start just doing things like that, right? And it's all going to be kind of adding up. And then you're going to think for the bottom bit and the bottom bit and the bottom bit, right? And then suddenly, so it doesn't matter if you're doing your own pose. Let's just say we've got, let's have the AMB lady twisting in a pose, right? Let's say that her leg is hair and her other leg is hair and her hand is hair, like this, right? And let's put the rah-rah skirt. So the hip, right? This hip I'm going to angle down like that. So we're going to do that, right? But then we're going to think about the turning of the body, right? So this will be turning this way. This one will be coming down, not too much, then it'll be kind of softening out like that, right? So going along the lines of the body, right? So maybe throw in another little one there like that. So we're gonna do something like this, right? And then maybe shoot one up there. So that's kind of how it all works, right? So when you see all those pretty anime girls in all those garments and think, wow, isn't that detailed? Not really, right? Okay, right. So anyway, so I just seeing what's going on in the comments there. Fantastic, right? So right, that's the basic structure. Now let's see how we did in the flipping of the drawing. Oh, it all adds up. There we go. Edit, undo, right? And right now, I'm going to start drawing this thing in a little bit. So we're going to slow down just a little bit. Not too much, right? If I'm going to tidy it up, I'll tidy it up completely off stream, right? So let's look at this thing's eyes, right? So the eye is gonna be like this circle but divided, right? So they're gonna create this nice shape in the direction where it's looking, right? So the little eyeball is not the eyeball, the iris and the pupil are gonna be like that. Then it's got these amazing old school 1, 2, how many? 3, 4 lashes on it, just like that. Then we're going to finish that circle of the eye in this oval fashion like that, right? Then around that is going to be, and this is done in blue pencil, right, is going to be the insides. Now the reason this is done in blue pencil is because they used to have this thing called the ink and paint department, right? So they wouldn't want the inker to ink certain lines as dark or as heavy as other lines. They may want it inked in a different color because they used to ink on the acetate cell. So not only did these drawings have to be cleaned up on paper back then, they had to be then traced again on clear acetate cell with the ink and paint. So some of the blue pencil clean lines on this were used to inform the inker, right? This line is an inside line. Now I've got to be careful here with the eye direction, so I like to be a little slower on my eyes actually. So this eye is looking down in the direction of the other thing. One of the things that can absolutely kill a drawing, and especially in animation, because in animation characters are interacting, is the eye direction. Make sure when you're, particularly when you got two characters in a scene, in a shot, make sure that they are truly, their irises, their pupils, whatever, are truly lining up with one another. Now this one comes up and out. It's a softer line, and this goes down. This is actually closer to it. Because I'm going over my construction, I'm not 100% on the model, but it's fine. Right, it's close enough. So we have that. So we have the two eyes, this eye being slightly smaller and this eye being slightly bigger. Then here we're just going to join that head with a, what I'm gonna do, I don't want to be too clean. See, I'm falling into the clean line trap. Okay, let's not, let's just, if I'm gonna, let's just scribble and scratch. Let's speed up. A lot of time on these streams can be wasted with unnecessary careful drawing. I'm here to share information. I'm saying that more to remind myself, and I'm not here to just show you all, oh, look how good I am. That just happens anyway, right? So this we're gonna put this in under here like that. That's the ear. Right, so that's the eye section sorted out. So let's talk about marrying the mouth with the marrying the snout with the eyes. So we are going to use the cheeks for that, right? So we've got a cheek line coming here like this, and a cheek line, smile line I should say, coming here like this, because the cheek is actually what's sitting on the eye, right? So we're going to come around here on this side, and we're going to completely frame the face with the cheek like that. This nice big fat cheek like that. So that's framing the face completely. Now we're going to create a line that comes like this, and then we're going to create some dimension with the snout, right? So we're going to make this line here like, I'm just going to go over my snout. It's not 100% to the size of theirs, but it's good enough, right? So again, we're going to turn this line this way, and we're going to put another one this way, and there's another one at the bottom there, very slightly, kind of like lips going on here, and we're going to put this chin here like that to marry it, and then the snout, I'm doing this invisible line here to marry all that up, is going to go along. Notice it's not straight, it's like elongated oval to this side like that to give it the nice balanced feel, right? I'm just going to turn this over here and join that up. There we go. So that joins that up. Now the bottom mouth, I'm going to be careful here. I'm just going to see, does that line up with the chin? Because it just kind of floats on the bottom, but it does have to line up with the chin like that. And I'm going to come in here and do the same. Let's just keep it a little nice and thin. It's a lot thinner because it's kind of hamburger mouth. There we go. Right, so that is the face. Now, the thing that'll make all this kind of add up is the snout and the nostrils. Now, remember I drew that triangle coming here like that. So you want to think about the triangle coming into the center from those 2 points, right? It's going to be a little bit different to what I originally drew, right? As I was working it out before. So this is going to be around about here. Maybe a little bit higher. Again, I'm going to where my guide was, and you shouldn't, it's just a guide, it's not necessarily right. So that's that one there, right? Coming down here, they're going to meet in the middle. So this one is coming up here, and we're going to put that shape on there like that and put that in there. See how that suddenly makes that fit? And then a few nice little wart-like spots or something to give it that hippopotamus feel. So very simple but very appealing, all kind of marrying up how to get the drawings and the shapes in harmony. Now everything else that I'm going to do here, actually I'm going to take this and just make this a little bit fatter. Why? Right? Because the neck is going to come down and out like that, and then this is going to go in here, and this is going to go just straight round to that side there like that. Now what I'm going to do, because as I've started tidying up over this to save time, because if I was doing this with ink in a sketch pad I wouldn't be able to do this, but you know, we're on a live stream and I want to get to looking at people's work. To save time, I'm just going to adjust that so I can keep drawing over my rough and kind of have everything where it was. I have the dexterity, and you should train yourself to have the dexterity that if you was drawing traditionally on a rough, you could pull it and change it around and it's okay. Again, here you see me doing that a little bit with this arm, and that's absolutely fine. So we're going to come in here, and I'm going to just speed up here. Nothing else is Nothing else I'm talking about is now going to really matter because I've kind of given you all the information. So what I'm going to do is I saw Mr. Leon make a point about something about Glenn Keane and subconscious mind. I'm going to read that. I'm going to talk about that while I carry on lining this up. Am I more likely to make mistakes if I zoom in so much? Yeah, probably. If you don't make a right mapping out of the drawing. Maybe Glenn Keane didn't know it consciously, but unconsciously it's absorbed all the anatomy knowledge. Whether he was stuck in a drawing, Disney allowed him to go and study for days anatomy. Here's what I think about that, right? So, Mr. Leon sent me a message about some interview that Glenn Keane gave, saying that he wasn't drawing pretty pictures like Milk Carl. He couldn't visualize the thing see it in his mind's eye first. He had to make some kind of marks on the page, whereas Milk Carl and other artists like to say, see it in your mind, visualize it, and then put it on the page. And there is no one shoe fits all, right? Definitely, right? So it's not who's right, who's wrong, whatever. Now, when I give my instruction, or I give my talks or my training videos, I'm always talking about the subconscious mind. I'm always talking about I draw from my subconscious mind, and I don't, that's like when your heart beat, it's your subconscious mind. When your lungs operate, it's your subconscious mind. So the reason you get good at something, it's because you've got competent at an unconscious level, and now you're competent at being unconsciously competent, right? So that's basically what I talk about. And I talk about how if you want to be a master at this, if you want to be truly great at this, you're going to have to develop the ability to train your subconscious, your unconscious mind, to be able to, like, how am I able to do this live stream, for example, to do this drawing, to talk away and make it all look so easy while I'm drawing, right? Well, because I know that my conscious mind is doing jack shit, right? It's my subconscious mind that's doing the work. It's like, okay, I know how to do this. This is easy. There's nothing difficult about this, right? Drawing is easy, animation is easy. This is how you do it, right? So I can just talk away and give a commentary as my unconscious mind works. Now, what Mr. Keane was saying in the interview was, well, I need to see it, and I need to see it before I can start developing it. I'm saying this I'm like ad-libbing, I'm just paraphrasing. I'm not giving you it exactly what he said. I'm just, as I said, I may do a video about this later on. So he needs to make his marks, he needs to scribble, he needs to put something down, and then he can start getting inspiration of where to take his work. Something like that, something along those lines, right? Of course, that doesn't mean that he's unable to visualize, right? Somebody asked me in a previous stream, he said, is storyboarding like asking questions? And I said, it's more than asking questions, it's having a conversation, right? It's having a conversation with yourself about many different things. If you like, asking questions with yourself about many different things in relation to the work that you're doing. And so what does that mean, having a conversation with yourself? Who is yourself? Who is I? Who is me? Who are you having a conversation with? Are there two of you? Right? Think about that. So if Mr. Keane is putting down his marks and he's thinking about his marks, I would say, who's putting the mark down? And then who's thinking about the mark, right? And I don't want to turn this into a philosophical, woo-woo kind of like exploration into animators. But what I want to say is like, it's not entirely different what he's doing, right? It's still basically conscious and unconscious communication that's happening there. It's just being executed in a different way and interpreted in a different way. But he's making a mark. He's getting inspiration from his mark. One mark leads to another mark. Cause and effect, reflect. Cause and effect, reflect. So that's essentially what's going on there. So I don't really think that it's... People get too caught up in the method, and they think that the method is the way. The method is simply the execution of the truth, if you like. So if something is, what is being done is the truth. It is a statement that you're making, whether you're making it with words or whether you're making it with a line, right? It's a statement that's being made. And that statement can be made in many ways. But the fact of the matter is, tying all of this back to what we're talking about, animation, drawing, is you're still going to have to be able to train the subconscious in these things, because you're not born out of the bat doing them, right? You're not born making your bed. You're not born brushing your teeth. You're not born riding a bicycle. You're not born driving a car, right? So how do you do that? How do you get the abilities? Repetition, training, not learning, all right? That's why I call my thing real animator training. Learning is acquiring information. It doesn't mean that once you've acquired the information you can do it, right? Training is the repetitive action of something to the point where growth occurs. E.g., the best example I use, muscle building. How many times? You're going to lift a dumbbell once? Really? What are you going to get from that? You're going to lift a dumbbell 10 times? Not enough. How many times are you going to have to lift that dumbbell to see the growth? Well, here's the thing. You get so into it that you forget about counting, right? You forget about counting, and before you know it, the growth has occurred, and there you go. Right, so anyway, Mr. Leon, that's my kind of small take on that. Maybe I don't have to make a video out of that after all, because I kind of liked what I said. Right, this is the image. We're not even an hour in, so this is good. I can quickly rough out the other. This is the pose that we did. I think I've kind of explained everything that I needed to about that one. There's time to do a quick, let's go, is it this one? Yeah, there's time to have a quick look at just how strong this stuff is, right? So, next to it, I'm going to do another one. Very quickly, as I said, this is the time to flip the drawing, right? This is the time to flip the drawing, and if there are any fixes to be made, to fix it, right? No, I don't, drawing, flipping back and forth, that's when you kind of fiddle too much and you've lost the plot. Okay, now this, let's look at this in a very different way. Let's look at this as like a flowing line, right? So the snout is up here, the other hand is here, and the foot is down here, right? These are many ways to get to the truth, right? The truth is simply the truth. Now this, look at what I'm going to turn this into. Let me just fatten my brush. This is for me gesture drawing, right? It's sometimes when I'm out in the park, in the zoo or whatever, I'll do this, and I'll fill a sketch pad full of this, and people might be walking by thinking, poor soul, he thinks he can draw, well, that's okay. I don't care about what other people think. I know the truth, right? So that to me is the drawing done. Now you might say, what on earth is that? But the more you train yourself to see these things, the more the truth is only visible to those who understand, right? So you have to be able to constantly be aware of your teachability index if you want to grow at this stuff. Right, now let's explain what this is. Let's knock this back a little bit, right? Hopefully you can see that. Let's now start to talk about this chunk. What's going on in this chunk? But first, before I do that, I'm going to put a big kind of chunk here like this, right? Right, a big chunk here, right? So what's going on in this chunk, and what's this, right? Hopefully this is going to be revealing even more to you, right? So along the top, we've got a very straight line, a very, very straight line. And I'm going to curl it in like this, right? Now, here we've got another straight line, and we've got a snout of the hippo, right? And that's where her eye is. Excuse me, miss. Her, right? Now, hair fitting in here, right, is going to be, now look at what these lines that I drew were, right? So up here we've got a little hand that's going to be like this, right? And that's going to come down here like this, and you could join it in with that side there, right? And then over here we've got the other hand that's going to be in there kind of like this, right? Over like that, and that's kind of joined in, right? Now here in the straight line down here, we're gonna take this chunk right around here, and we're gonna think about a triangle, and from here, right, from this in, we're gonna pull this along the straight line. We're gonna pull this down and around like that, right? Now this, right, this is in line with this, but just coming in slightly. So my gesture was slightly out. We're then gonna come in here, right? And we're gonna have the tiptoe hair like this, right? Then we're gonna have the knee coming up. See, there are people that follow me that are constantly trying to draw, and I'm gonna look in the group, and I'm gonna talk about that to a few of these people. They're constantly working too hard, trying to copy, trying to draw like what I drew here, right? Trying to draw like this. If you don't understand this, it's going to be very hard for you to really get any good. Your drawings are always going to look empty and stiff. Now I want you to look at this, right? Let's change the color of that to a different kind of black. I want you to look at this. And I want you to look at this before I continue. And I want you to honestly try to see how they marry up together, right? I want you to kind of see, this is where it all works. There's a great book by Kemal Nicolaides, The Natural Way to Draw. Your eye is seeing lines or shapes in an instant before they move and change. The minute I looked at this pose, my eye saw this swivel, right? And that's what it is. So I want to make that very clear to you all before we all start getting into the fun stuff. Ooh, isn't it pretty? Isn't it nice? Let's draw her little face. Let's draw her little folds of flab. That doesn't matter as much as what I've just explained to you right now. Right, let's be very quick about this now. So the snout is like this. It comes up and down, and I'm going to be a lot looser and rougher with my drawing than the other one, because we've kind of done all that we need to, right? Now here we're gonna marry that with that, right? Then there's gonna be a bit of a lip. The lip is of a different color, right? Which comes quite attractive, this hippo, which comes there like that, and the chin comes in under there, right? So you still see that snout effect being on here. The nose sits up like that. What I really love about this is they've really captured the essence of the animal, right? They really have, in this very appealing cartoony shapes, just captured the essence of the animal. It's almost perfect. It almost like that is such a hippopotamus, you know. The face is just perfect. It's a female ballet dancing hippopotamus, and yes, it's funny and whatever, but in some ways she's pretty, right? You know, she may not be conventionally, you know, supermodel, whatever, but they've succeeded. I mean, that's the real skill of the character designers back then. None of this giving it hair or anything, even of the stuff you see me doing. None of the it's the shape of the animal's head. All of the features, those kind of big bumpy eyes, those nose bumps and all that. It's the shape of the animal's head, and they've succeeded. This is just absolute class, absolute genius. You know, I'm so sad about what's happened to this company. It had such a great legacy. It created such amazing, the highest of the high. Anyway, let's talk about the good stuff. So there you see the head like this. Now the folds of skin are gonna be what make this. So filling all this in. So the hand comes up here, and we're gonna just slightly push it a little bit more than what I had, and then inside there is where the thumb is gonna sit. And everything, if you like, is this round circle, and they're putting two together and one at the side like this. So here you're gonna have one nail here, and then it's like taking the whole Mickey Mouse glove thing, but then putting a little bit more anatomy into there, which is when they started to play a little bit more with anatomy after Snow White, 1940, Snow White being 1937. Right, we're going to have a little look at the skirt in a minute. Right, so this drops down here like this, out there. I'm going to have to send my cat out because she's getting quite restless. So excuse me. Okay, sweetheart, I know it's warm in here. It's winter, believe it or not. Out you go. Go on. Right, excuse me. Right, so we have that line here like this. Now here we're going to think about the dress. So we're going to have it come down, then straight, right, and then up. Now, why did I make a big deal out of that? Look at the center line is hair, but we want twist in the body. We want the body, the pelvis is going to be facing this way, and the chest is facing this way, and the pelvis is facing this way. So the skirt is turned to the side like that, right? And it gives the drawing so much more depth, right? So then we're going to do the usual kind of like how this girl's in under the fingers like that, right? Now I could count it, right? But I'm not going to. I'm just going to create an impression, right? So we have this, this, this. Well, let's just do these lines. This here, this one coming down here, this coming over here, this coming up here, this here, this here, this here, and this here, right? So the way this works, we missed one, that goes straight down, is exactly the way I kind of showed you we're now going to kind of join these together, right? So this is going to join into this one like this, and this cuts down, comes up on this one, this comes under here like this, and honestly you get a little lost when you're looking and copying on intuitive stuff like this, but it's worth doing. It's good hand-eye coordination. Right, so this comes up here into this, coming up, down. We're taking it the other way now. There, like that. Right. So that's kind of like a quick interpretation of that. Now we're going to have the fold of underarm fat on that side. This comes over here. And the thumb comes there. A little bit of anatomy on that thumb. More anatomy in the finger to give it that feel. There, like that. And this is going to continue through and down, and a little bit of folding there with the leg. Right, we'll look at the leg in a minute. This curls the other way. Now the belly, there's more folding of the belly along here with another little underfold here like this. You see, they're really playing with the skin. Kind of like if you watch if you're in the intermediate archive of the Real Animator Training Library, I don't do it as nicely as this because this is more anatomical and intuitive. But if you look at the way I explain the flour sack, and I give the flour sack these kind of folds of fat, and I tell you how it all lines up and adds up and how you can animate it like that, that's basically the same thing. So somebody, a member that we're going to be looking at their work later on in the stream, has revisited all the flour sack exercises, and hopefully I can use that post to kind of exemplify, because she's done a stellar job at doing that, to exemplify what I'm talking about at the moment, right? So let's just put the shoe, oopsie, we wanted to erase that. Let's just put the shoe on there, and the shoe is simply, I'm gonna kind of like just cop out on that like that, and there's a little tail here, and this ingeniously, right, this comes forward like that, giving it that balance. Everything balances and lines up so well with these drawings. They're just, for me, the best. Traditional old school Disney drawings are just the best for me. Now we want to have this side of the neck. It's going to come through just like that. There we go. Okay. So, can you see now how this and this are pretty much the same thing, right? You need to learn to start seeing the essence of the pose when you're learning to draw. Now we're going to look in the group at people, some of the people's posts in there, and I'm going to prescribe this. So a lot of the posts I might go past and not show much examples for feedback, but to those people I'm going to say, come back and watch this part of the stream, and it's going to be very useful to you, because as I said, most people trying to learn to draw, Hervonia Baker, people like that, they watch my videos and they get all the nice tips. Cameron Black, and I've been guiding Cameron in some of these streams, but a lot of them are still stuck in the detail. I want to get the face. I want to get each little wing. I want to get all the color. I want to get the wrinkles. I want to get the shading. I want to get all the teeth. You know, they're stuck in that. If you really want to build your drawing, you're going to have to start seeing things like this as well, right? Because the shape simplification is very, very important. But if your shapes don't harmonize, if they're not balanced, if they don't have a good flowing pose underneath, it's gonna fall apart. All right, so that's that. I think this has been a really good hour, about an hour. So we did an hour's drawing, and I think I've given you a ton of value. I've given you a ton of value. I'm gonna go look in the chat in a minute, but before I do so, and we start the second half of the stream, I'm gonna remind you all why we're here. We're here to learn about real animation, to bring back the standards of high-class hand-drawn elite animation. I have built a library, a training library where you can become a real animator. Just simply go to ambanimation.com, real animator training. You can either watch these videos explaining what's in the library and listen to some of the testimonials. Some of you who have followed me for long enough already know. You just click join now. You can see other library members' works. We're going to have a look in the second half of the stream at some more work being posted, not necessarily by library members. You have basically these two sections here, training archives and edutainment archives. Edutainment is pretty much like what you've seen me doing here, okay? I'm talking to you about many things. We're veering off topic, but you're getting a ton of value. It's fun. Sometimes I'll curse. Sometimes I'll come on camera and do a little workout with you, and we're just having fun. But that's why it's called edutainment. They're not courses. You got sessions. You got drawing sessions. Ask the Animator, animation breakdowns. This kind of sums up edutainment. This is I can't even remember, 56 live streams where you watch me animate a film from start to finish of this standard, design the characters, do all the backgrounds, do everything to this standard. You watch the whole thing happen over 56 live streams. It took about 6 24-hour days to make a almost 2-minute film. So that's what you can watch in the edutainment section of the real animator training library. If you're looking for something more real, something where you're actually gonna follow a structured course and learn how to actually do it the real way, remember, I'm not interested in sharing with you the right way, the wrong way. I'm only just showing you the real way, right? And that is the repetitive action of the 12 laws of animation. So the basics archive, you can watch these videos. You'll learn about the 6 laws of movement via a bouncing ball and a stick man. The ball and the pendulum will teach you about timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out. A little bit of squash and stretch and follow through and overlap there. The basic walk cycle, standard walk cycle, jogging cycle will consolidate timing, arcing, slowing in, slowing out, follow through and overlap, but also introduce with you solid drawing and pose to pose and straight ahead. And then you'll move on from a front walk cycle, a front run cycle, and a head turn series. So the 6 laws of movement. In the intermediate archive, you will be introduced to the flour sack and some complicated stick quadrupeds and a more complicated stick figure, where you'll learn about the 6 laws of life, which are squash and stress, anticipation, follow through, overlap and drag, primary and secondary actions, staging, exaggeration and appeal. So you'll build up on those 6 laws to consolidate, and then all 12 laws will be consolidated in the advanced archive, where you'll be working more to model. You'll be learning how to draw and model, learn how to keep things super solid, really learning how to animate via the secret science of shape simplification. having a go at dialogue, putting personality and character in your work. So it's structured course, step-by-step courses, what you follow along everything that I do, no deviation. Let's face it, you're joining this course because you're tired of things not working for you. So don't sabotage, don't self-sabotage, just follow along, do everything I tell you to do, and get the results, which is what you see a lot of people in this library, in this group, doing. The anatomy archive is amazing. All 36 bones of the human body, or you will do turnarounds of them. You will understand how to simplify them into simple shapes, and you will also understand the actual shapes of the bones. The random pick up and play lectures are not follow through, but they are kind of like what we did today, but a little bit less on the edutainment side and a little bit more straight up animation seminars. That is the Real Animator Training Library. Go and change your life, transform your skills, become the animator that you've always dreamed that you are. This is the place to make your dreams real via the real way. Not the right way, definitely not the wrong way, but via the real way. Okay, so that is AMB Animation Real Animator Training Library. Go and transform your life now. Right, that we are about to head on to the second half of the live stream. But before I do so, I am going to come and see what people are saying in the chat. I'm going to move my heater away from me. Yes, being an Englishman living in New Zealand, it's so strange entering June and it getting colder. Okay, right. Let us have a quick look at the chat, and then we'll move on to look at your groups, your work in the group. The egg-shaped head reminds me of the villain from the Felix the Cat movie. I don't remember that. AMB's speed always amazes me. It isn't really speed. I could sit here and try to big up my ego and make myself seem so much more unreachable to you, but you can be that fast, you can be that skillful by training your subconscious. That's all it is. Repetition, training, repetition. And the problem is people get bored doing the same thing over and over again. It's funny because I had this conversation with my wife and my sister-in-law, and I was looking at how non-filmmakers, non-animators see movies. My daughter and my wife were watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and I refused to watch it. I still haven't seen it. I just refused to watch a movie based on a theme park. I hated it. It was the shift of Disney for me. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but I found myself defending it in spite of all that because somebody pushed the right trigger. My sister-in-law said to my wife, "Oh, well, I don't really want to watch that. That's old." I said, "That's not old to me. That's too new for me. Like, there's too much CG in there." But anyway, I said, "So you don't think anything old is good?" She said, "No, it's not a real classic. You know, the old classics are good." And I'm like, she said, "No, I've been there, done that. One time watch." And I thought to myself about our industry. I said, "Isn't it funny?" I said, "Would you do that to restaurant food? How many times have you gone to this restaurant? Countless times. I don't like meat. These people love their Brazilian. Sorry, Pedro. These people love Brazilian chasqueria. I'm not a meat eater. I eat meat. I'm not a complete vegetarian, but I'm not into so much meat. They go there so often." I'm like, "But you consume the same food all the time. You never tire of that." Why can you only watch a movie once and you feel you've got to consume something else, something completely different? But that's how they see it. They just don't want to know. And I'm thinking, I'm the complete opposite. I've only just discovered Grave of the Fireflies. That was made in the 80s because I'm too busy just watching what I consider to be quality and studying it and continuing to watch it. And my brain can filter. There's probably a lot of good stuff out there that I'm missing, but my brain sees stuff and I'm like, this is junk. This is, you know, this is the way this has been done. I'm sure if I look hard enough, there's something good. There's always something good in quality and everything. So where am I going with this? Why am I talking about this in relation to Hervonia Baker's comment about my speed in drawing? Well, as I said, repetition and working at the same, not necessarily the same old thing, but working a muscle to the point that it becomes instinctive. Now, my martial arts training has helped me understand this concept. I mean, Bruce Lee used to say, when the opponent expands, I contract. When the opponent contracts, I expand. And then when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself. Well, he's talking about the subconscious. That's what the it is. You've done something so often that when you think, a lot of people think this martial arts stuff doesn't work because nobody punches like that, and I can't see an opportunity to use it because that's all conscious. You're consciously trying to, you got to put the hand here to block like this and keep this loaded and all that way. But once you've kind of done this stuff constantly, this stuff just is your subconscious way of moving. You're just subconsciously moving in a certain way. And it may seem, oh, did you see how fast he disarmed that person, or how fast he got out of that headlock, or whatever? And it wasn't fast, it wasn't speed, it was just familiarity. That's all it was. A familiar, and I'm not talking about doing this in the air, by the way. I'm talking about if you're really doing it in a real world situation. So you've also got to actually do it with people in order for you to be familiar with it, because you can do it in the air as often as you like, but then that's why a lot of that stuff doesn't work, even by people who are constantly doing this all day, because they haven't actually been doing it with other people. So getting back to the drawing, if you are drawing the same things and looking for the same things, oh, the triangles, the structural silhouette, the shape, the flow, the balance, the triangle of the neck, the anatomy triangles of the neck, the sternal triangle, the muscular triangle, the occipital triangle, the subclavian triangle, the mandibular triangle, blah 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 blah, right? I mean, to me, I can spit all that out and you're probably thinking, oh, he's showing off. No, these are things that I know and I've trained myself to look for. The triangle of the trapezius, the triangle, everything's triangles, the triangle of the bicep, right? Fitting into the triangle of the tricep. Everything is triangles and whatever. So when you train yourself to look at all these things and see things in that way, it's almost like you're seeing things the way a robot sees things in some ways. You've lost the passion. You can be passionate all you like, but when you go into that mode, you're like, okay, well, this, that, the other, right? And your subconscious has taken over. So while it seems fast, it's not fast. It's just familiarity. So you can become familiar. You can be as familiar as I am just by having the discipline to train yourself, to repeatedly do these stuff, to not get bored, to not look at all of the attention other people are getting on social media and feel pissed off about, or upset, or frustrated about why you're not getting that attention, and then being deviated off on other tracks of perhaps I'm not good enough, perhaps they're good, and all these false conversations that start in your head which stop you from real training. the R in the background, all right? The R for real animator training, right? Is there a difference between having to animate a silhouette rather than doing rough constructions of a figure? Not really. I mean, if you can animate the silhouette, then you've got a really good eye for posing and structure beforehand, but you're going to have to go in and put some kind of line. Here's the thing, we never, Detro, I know you've been following me from the very start, but then you duck out and then you duck in. We never really, if you think about it, what's a bouncing ball? It's a round circle. It's an outline. It's an outline. We can put things inside that outline to make it a face, or we can put a nose in there, another little ball that'll change the outline a little bit, but it's still an outline. We've been doing things that way from day one, Tetro. Construction lines and guidelines are where the insecurities and ego of wanting to keep things solid and drawing and perspective and dimension and all these things start to interfere with essentially the way you need to strip away the unessential and go back to the very beginning and build on the strong fundamental foundation in order to get the desired result. The problem is too many people are sitting up here focusing on things that, it's like being on an extremely thin beam with cracks in it you're gonna come tumbling down because you haven't built the foundation. Am I saying animate in silhouettes? No, but certainly don't animate construction lines. You can animate simple shapes that you can call the construction of a figure. Perhaps that's what you mean, but then you want to always bear in mind what the main shape is. The secret science of shape simplification always states that there are shapes within shapes within shapes within shapes within shapes that are all contained within a master shape. And what is the master shape? The silhouette. That's what it is. So it's good to keep an eye on the overall shape. There was a line in one of those Prince of Egypt songs, a single grained tapestry, does a single stone or something that forms a face, is it aware of the face that it's being formed, on a statue or something? I can't remember, but it was a nice little line in that song. Always remember that. Kevin Silver, how are you? King Fu Conan, Ed Dado. Yeah, they have really anthropomorphized the hippo to perfection, Charlene. Octavio Velasquez, good to see you. Good, Silver Sun, fix things before posting them. Post if you will, but at least you're now becoming more analytical about your work. I respect and appreciate AMB so much because he's disclosing all of this valuable info. Many artists can't tell you how they can draw so good, or maybe they don't want to. Thank you for all of this. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure because I'm doing it for the sake of real animation, in a world where digital puppetry has taken over and deluded everybody. Everybody thinks puppetry is animation now. It's so funny. There's a saying, the eyes have it, or is that the eyes? I love seeing the hippo with the tutu. Yes, they do look so friendly until they show their gaping jaw. I'm not taking revenge against the industry, Mr. Leon. I'm not taking revenge against the industry. Industry is great, but it's separate from what I do, right? It can it can coexist, it can join together, but I'm here to put the art and the sincerity and the skill and the ability back into animation. That's what I'm here to do. And it's not because I don't consider digital puppetry animation. It's digital puppetry. It's not animation. He posted the interview. Yep, there you go. Repeat, build and repeat. 12 lifts is enough, Central. 12 lifts is enough. Just do it all the time. It's not a race. My pleasure. Mute Midori Animations, how are you? 5 hours of sleep. Oh dear. Okay, I'm skipping through because we want to start the second half of the stream. We've had 1 hour 30. Army Dude, hey AMB, anything you have planned for the future streams or video archives? Yes, there's going to be the effects archive that is released. A future stream, I'm going to be adding to that tailspin dance animation. I'm also going to be doing the ever elusive muscle archive stream. There will be a advanced, I'm thinking of building an advanced training archive beyond advanced called the professional archive, because after being advanced you then become proficient and professional. So I'm going to start with a dialogue test of the great one, which I've got to record the dialogue. I've got an amazing person to do the voice. We've agreed on the price, and I'm gonna get the dialogue recorded, and we're gonna build more real animator training stuff. I love building it, Okay, there we are. That is that. So now we're gonna start looking at people's work in the growth, development, and progress group. So enough of this. Thank you all for your conversations. The new effects archive. Yeah, I may also build a real a training archive of effects. I've been studying Sakuga. I've got over 20 videos of Sakuga fight scenes, Sakuga fire effects, Sakuga water effects, Sakuga smoke effects we're doing now. I've got to do Sakuga explosions and Sakuga wind, and that's going to be in the edutainment archives. It's not going to be training because it's animation breakdown, studying pre-existing animation. But I may do a quick little archives of special effects. But after building that Sakuga archive, I'm going to be taking a break from effects because they're kind of boring, all right? And I'm going to be moving on to back to character stuff, building that. Okay, let's have a look at people's work in the group. Let's go to the community now. Thank you all so much for your comments. Thank you, Shiva Slump. All right then, let me zoom in. I'm going to leave it on this pretty shot here. I do like bigger girls, so I'm going to put that there. There we go. Right, okay. Let us now go into the community group. Very quickly, for those of you who are not. Now, you can't be posting posts while I'm streaming, right? Because I won't look at it. But those of you who do not know what this is, this you should all know by now really, but this is the global Facebook community, Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress. It is free, meaning anybody can join. You don't have to be a Real Animator Training Library. This is the place where most Real Animator Training Library members congregate and post their efforts, and of course I will prioritize them because they have invested in my training product. But this is, this is where I come and look at and help anyone, okay? Anyone who reaches out to me with sincerity. So you're more than welcome to join this group. The other thing is if you go to the featured section of the group, you will be taken to this thing called Real Animator Training Preliminaries. All right, this is better than a lot of animation schools. You get 9 free videos from the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, the Real Animator Training Library. All you do is you copy the passcode in the description here and you click on this link. So you don't have to send me an email. You don't have to worry about being spammed, sales emails, whatever. This is where you're going to have access to free videos from the training library: the basic bouncing ball, the basic swinging pendulum, part 1 of the basic walk cycle, all of the bones of the foot, study of the bones of the hand here, squash and stretch with the flour sack, acting class, dynamic perspective, and one of my Ask AMB streams from yesteryear. So that's free for all of you to enjoy, okay? Come join this group for anything for that, and also for the amazing peer group. Okay, we're now going to look at Angela Walker's Secret Science of Shape Simplification post. Angela, I'm so happy that you're building up on where you were. This is very strong for you. This is very solid. I think now we should be concerned a little bit about solidity because you're this far in. So this is working really well. This is, of all of the things, this is your first real go at this. Sometimes you take so many goes to get it, but there's a little bit of a, he is supposed to go higher on one side than on the other, and we see that, but it does feel a little bit too extreme, maybe because it needs to be in between. So it's okay, it's working, it's fine. Angela, this is absolutely amazing. Please keep up the good work. Eventually I'm going to want you to start drawing a little tighter in some places. This is tight for you, so don't take that comment as like, oh, I thought it was tight. I can tell this is tight for you, but eventually we're going to be even tighter. But it's starting to happen, Angela. You're starting to get it. So fantastic. I don't have anything to say about on that other than keep going. Keep following the lecture. You're doing extremely well. Fantastic. Mageburger, I'm not going to look at this because I've already given you some infos about your character design in the last lecture, and we already talked about this, but keep posting as and until you do. At some other point I will look and give you feedback. One thing to consider, your drawing is definitely getting stronger here. He's just turned 19, he has, old mage. One thing to consider is the old classic Disney guys used to always enclose their characters in a circle like this, the classic one being Mickey Mouse, right? In a circle like that, right? They always used to do that because it excuse me. They always did that because it gave some perspective to the floor, right? Now again, you don't want to be putting your characters always in circles and thinking that's a formula. But what I see happening here with some of these drawings of this egg, which isn't bad, is the very flat, this one maybe not, but the very flat style arrangements of the feet here. You got the foot pointing forward, but it's just pointing down, and that's pointing. So you want more perspective. You want to think about those things. Even in roughs, you want to think about things like that. So So, for example, one of the things is, you can either put a little bit of a floor to help yourself, as you're kind of like doing that. And then you can think about what's going on in the floor, right? So we can just, so if I'm doing a pose like this, right? So he could be walking with his hands in his pockets, right? So you see immediately I've looked. Again, I'm giving these drawing tips for people who, a lot of drawings are posted on the wall and I can't keep repeating myself, so I'm doing this for some of the future posts as well. That's it, right? That's the drawing. That's all the hard work done, right? Everything else is going to be kind of like easy from here on in, right? Depending on if you understand. Let's use the classic, baggy jeans look, right? So he's got his hand in his pockets, right? He's got his stirrups here, his boots here, his other foot is out here like this, right? This foot's walking there. He's got this hand here, his jacket's here, his other hand is here. Let's give him a hoodie, right? Let's turn his head. He's seen something behind, right? Almost Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights. I'm channeling my 8 Crazy Nights days there, right? So there you see. Now I'm working the silhouette again, right? To make it stronger. Pick out my shapes, right? So that's my kind of like silhouette shape. Right, so I may want to then say, okay, well, let's knock that back. Let's talk to Tetro about the silhouette now, right? So maybe there'll be a little bit of a cheek here, right? Let's play with the angle of his hoodie, because I can start visualizing the hoodie and the back of the jacket coming up over here. A little bit of that. The pants, right? Let's start playing with the silhouette of the pants a bit more, right? There, like that, right? So then you can start coming in here. So again, we can start filling in inside the silhouette, right? And the jacket would have to be turned out more like this. So it's a combination. This is how you take poses further, right? This is how you kind of take poses further. I'm going to leave it at that, but hopefully you can see where all of this goes, right? Okay, so Octavio Velasquez. Hi friends, I took a break from my personal work to review the basics archive. Even though I understand a lot more in this run, there's so much going on here that I would not say I mastered completely, so I might do again in the future. That's the attitude, Octavio. Repetition, come back to consolidate all that. Let's have a quick look at what Octavio has done. Octavio has already completed the training library once. And now he has gone through all of the basics exercises for consolidation. Now, I did spot a few things as I was scrolling down my wall, just seeing what people had posted, Octavio, and I'm going to bring those to your attention. Bouncing ball is fine. There's a little bit gooey on the one going across the screen here. Maybe the spacing here is a little odd, Octavio. It feels like he's being stretched and stopping there and then moving more. So you need to check the spacing there. It creates a kind of like blue tack, kind of sticky, rubbery feel. It's good, but just a little bit of stuff happening there. That's all good. This is fantastic. This is good. Good. You see, you have to do the swing so often that I'm not bothering talking about the swing. If I see it better, I know it'll get better as you go along. Here we're getting a bit longer in the string there. Need to be careful. It seems a little longer up top. Could be the illusion of the 17:9 framing. See here, this is good, but on the standard walk, I want you to see the arm. Something that was happening to your pendulum a little bit in some of them, not all of them, right, was as that pendulum, you see the arms are just pendulums, right, as that pendulum's swinging, right, and even as I've drawn this, it should be a little bit lower. So my arc, see, naturally, even I've been doing this for years, my subconscious still fucks up on the arc, right? But so you want this string to be the same length, or feel the same length at least, on the swings, right? So what happens is your arm is swinging, and then as your arm bends, you're not thinking of it going in the foreshortening. It feels like it's bending and getting longer, and then swinging back and getting shorter. That's where the volume issue occurs. Not because you've drawn this. You may have drawn this the same size to keep volume, but if the arc is like this, rather than a proper, right, we actually, if we're foreshortening, we should be changing volume anyway, right? But if the arc is like this, so I want you to look at this guy. I want you to look at the second walk. The basic walk is kind of works. He's a little top heavy, which gives him that awkward feel, but kind of works. But here, the extending of those arms, on this one, you see that there, how long and big that gets, right? And then you see here how long and big that gets. That's down there, it's only this long, right? Now how long and big that gets. So that's, anybody watching this wondering about what the 6 laws of movement are and what Octavio's gone through here. Octavio has gone through the basic thing of timing here. He's put a bit of squash and stretch, but we don't care too much about that at this stage, right? It's more about the timing. So he's learning how to bounce a ball in 1 second, right? Then he's learning about arcing, right? I'm putting a bit of squash and stretch in there to change between jumping and bouncing, okay, to put a bit of personality. So timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out, right? That's what's going on here. The pendulum is the same thing, but it introduces follow through and overlap in terms of the arc. And you'll see that in the next one here, okay, with this figure of 8 style arc that we do. Now, the reason why he's drilled himself in this is he's preparing himself to move on to animating a figure, because that's all of these principles: timing, arcing, slowing in, slowing out, follow through and overlap, pose to pose and straight ahead, solid drawing, the 6 laws of movement. So here he's got it all happening there. Now he's kind of screwed up a little bit there, Octavio, on the arc of the arms. I don't mind if the body is so much longer than the legs. And that's not that, it still kind of works, but it's more the arcing of the arms there. Everything else in that is nice. The head sway from side to side is really good, really nice. Pelvis was working nicely. Same thing I feel is happening with the jog cycle. There's something doesn't go. I think what's going on with the jog cycle, I like the raising of the knees actually. It's good. But as this knee arcs out and comes up, you see the same, you're kind of arcing the knee out and in like this. Now, the femur bone can't physically do that, right? If it was foreshortening and going in that direction, then he'd be running in a bow-legged way, right? Which is why it doesn't create that illusion. So again, subtle stuffs about the arcs is happening there, Octavio. So it's the arc. I would say the thing that's letting your consolidation of this down is the arcs a little bit, right? Dynamic guy is good. He could come a little higher and to feel more power in there. Again, hair, too much side to side on the figure of 8 of the hip, right? So here see that bottom foot is sliding to the side. We shouldn't really be doing that. Remember, Octavio, the hip, which you've kind of missed here, is the figure of 8, right? So very quickly, the thing that really makes the front walk cycle. I know there's a lot to take in. You said that. So Octavio, he does pretty good work, right? Okay, so and Mr. Leon, he's working for Disney at the moment, and he fully admits that he doesn't know the stuff in this basics archive, right? So you got to understand that Octavio he's pretty good, right? But look, he's doing the basics. He's revisiting the basics archive, and he says there's so much to take in that he's kind of because he's focusing on all this stuff to take in. He's lost something. Like he's missing some of the fundamentals, and this is what happens to everyone. Now, I'm gonna make this more like a walking position, like that, right? So it isn't that Octavio did it wrong. It isn't that he's bad. It isn't that, oh my God, I screwed up. He didn't screw up, right? The thing is, this is what happens to us all. I don't care how experienced you are. I don't care what you've done. The thing is the more knowledge you acquire, the more ability you acquire, the more you get carried away. And what does the word carried away implicate? It implicates the more you move further and further up, you can sometimes lose the fundamentals, right? And we can see, as Octavio has revisited this archive, a couple of things. The 3 basic laws. The one is arcing, right? I would say the main fundamental, Octavio, is arcing. Now, the thing about this is you got foot slide happening. That shouldn't happen. And I know why that's happened. You've caused the figure of 8 to occur in his leg, right? Let's put another one here. You've got the figure of 8 happening in his leg, but what's happened is we have the foot plant, right, of this thing, right, as this comes down here like this. This is how the figure of 8 occurs. Now watch, right? This, Octavio, is the hardest cycle in the base. This is for me the hardest test in the basics archive. This is the one that if I would if I would have to animate, I would probably feel, oh well, this one's testing me a little bit, right? Because it's selling that walk from front view, right? You got to sell the downs. You got to, but this is just the. Actually, I've jumped straight into the downs, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. My bad. Okay, we're gonna go and do those frames again. But I was talking to Octavio about foot slide. So I did say that this is one of the hardest walks in there. So as I was almost working it out. So I don't want to do that. Let's explain to Octavio. Now, the pass position is going to be to the side, right? But this foot is going to be kind of like leaning here, right? Up hair like this. Right? Bum, bum, bum. And you've definitely got the side to side, but you're sliding the foot along the floor. Right? So the pass position on this one is going to be here. Now I might teach it a little differently in the training library. It's been 5 years since I built that, right? The basics archive. It's about, not 5 years, probably about 4 years. But it's the same thing, right? So we're going side to side with those legs, right? And we're gonna bring him a little bit taller, right? A little bit taller, right? Not gonna worry about the arms. We're gonna get to the figure of 8, right? So right now we've got side to side, but it's not good, but what's making it feel a little bit more constant is notice how these feet are not traveling, sliding on the ground, Octavio, right? But this is what's going to really make it, right? The down position. Now I've gone and drawn on the background layer, which is why can't I see through those? I hate Storyboard Pro in many ways. Why am I unable to see the onion skin? That's the layer A. Okay, this is why. Man, this program sucks. They all suck, but why would anybody want to select the layers in the thumbnails? Fuck off. Seriously, just fuck off. Anyway, sorry. So the down, we've made it so if you want to. We don't know what else to do to sell the program. Shit, man, we got to think of something. We've done it all already. What you can do, all right, we've got this great new innovation. You can select the layers in the thumbnail mode. How cool is that? We're actually charging, we're on discount, but we're charging an extra $10,000 for that one feature. Okay. Anyway, so this is what's going to make this, right? We're going to come down, Octavio. So remember the down before we come up to the side like this, right? And we're going to bend those legs. And we're going to bend this one like this, right? And then this guy is going to counter and come down like this, right? Bum, 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 right? That's going to come down and go up. So you see the figure of 8 happening, right? We're going down and then we're going up along the side, right? See, I'm giving Octavio a lot of my time because Octavio he's already completed this archive, but he's gone back to rework it and try to do it again. Now that gets a lot of respect from me. That is like some. Oh, here we go again. The background layer. Right, let's paste it in there. So if I see somebody working as hard as Octavio, I'm definitely gonna give them a fair amount of my time because they thoroughly deserve some feedback after all of those hours. It must have taken him hours of effort to do this. So kudos to you, Octavio. Well done, my friend. You did the right thing, right? You couldn't have been more right than to come back here. You've just saved yourself possibly another couple of years of error had you not done this, right? And I'm happy to be here to help you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for trusting in my program, right? So here we've gone into the down and already we're getting those hips working in that figure of 8. And we're gonna then just carry it over with the up pose, right? So this one is just gonna go. Now the hips aren't necessarily gonna go up. they're gonna go, it's a subtle kind of figure of 8. As I said, it's not exactly, the knee is gonna come up, right? Like this, bum, 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 right? That's where the up is, right? It's a subtle variation of the original one in the training library, but it's the same thing, Octavio, right? It's all, I can't remember exactly how I taught it those many years ago, but the figure of 8, everything is there. The feet are locked into position. This just comes up and through to sell that there like that. Okay, let's have a look at that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these frames, edit, copy panels, edit, base panels, edit, base panels. And we're going to have a little look at that, right? So we can see the, as I scrub along there, the hips are working and the feet are not sliding along the planes of the floor, right? And we've got a solid center of balance with figure of 8s happening there, going on there like that, right? And if you want to make someone limp or whatever, you can make his pelvis more down on one side or whatever. It's kind of almost happening there as I've quickly roughed that out. But anyway, I find that a lot of fun, and hopefully that kind of consolidates. Let's just do away with that. It gives me so much pleasure knocking out stuff that I know people in the industry would take a whole day to get right, you know, and then they'd put some dead flat sliding head on it and it'll still look dead. Just undoing it like that, just knowing I can shit it out like that gives me so much satisfaction. And I'm saying that not to boast, I'm saying that to inspire you that you can do it. It's not that hard. You see, Octavio's almost done it here. So here, if we look again here, Octavio, can you see the fundamental flaw in here, which is really stopping that from working, is the foot sliding on the floor, which you've missed as you've tried to get all those other things right? So it's not quite. And again, here, there's too much side to side. So we want to think about this guy. His feet are actually moving away and towards us, right? Away and towards us, right? This way and this way. But many people, as they draw on a 2D plane, they tend to think of more this. So even your front run cycle, Octavio, is a little bit, because he's off the ground, we can get away with it a little bit easier, right? But we can see here, right, he's pushing, he's sliding along the floor, he's sliding. This side is a little bit better, right? Let's see the head turn. This head turn is good. His body does drift down a little as he turns his head. I don't know if we can see that. Right. But it's overall, it's quite good. It's solid, solid-ish. Could be a little bit more solid, but not bad. The varied head turn is actually a little bit more solid than that. I would have thought the varied would be harder, but I think a lot of people find the varied head turn easier than the traditional one. I think probably because by doing the traditional one, it's reinforcing my thing about repetition. You kind of familiarize yourself with all these shapes, and then the next time you do it, it's easier. Then we've got this one. Again, one of the sides that feels a little longer in there. So my advice to you is super well done, Octavio. Going through all of those exercises again will definitely have done you the world of good. But the main takeaway for me is to really be mindful of your law. Remember, the 12 laws of animation, Octavio knows them all now, but the 3 fundamental laws which all the other laws rest on, the 9 other laws rest on, are timing, He was quite good with that. Slow in and slow out. He was quite good with that. This one, Octavio. This one, arcing, I would say, needs your attention. Timing, arcing, slowing in and slowing out. Since we're writing all these down now, here's the perfect opportunity to remind you of the 6 basic laws of movement. Pose to pose and straight ahead next. Pose to pose, straight ahead. Right? And then we have follow through, overlap and drag. Squash and stretch could go in here as well, but we saved that more because it's more lifelike. And then we have solid drawing. So these are the 6 laws of movement, right? To move something convincingly. Then we have the 6 laws of life. Let's begin with one of the which could work in the 6 laws of movement as well. Squash and stretch. Okay. Movement. Life. The laws of life. Squash and stretch. Anticipation. Primary and secondary action. Exaggeration, appeal, and staging, right? So these are the 6 laws of life and the 6 laws of movement. Octavio, not bad. So if you're feeling a little bit down because you feel everybody's hard on themselves, I know, I've been through it. Part of what I like to give people is kind of like fusing my time as a martial arts instructor with my animation knowledge and my years of experience as a professional animation artist, storyboard artist, animation director, etc., etc., etc. So I want to give you that experience. Don't beat up on yourself too much, okay? You got 5 out of 6 there, not bad, right? 5 out of 6. So, but this arcing is a major one, right? If we mess up there, that's one of the 3 fundamental laws, okay? So, gotta be careful. But fantastic consolidation, Octavio, well done. Now, Jeremy Jones, I love Jeremy Jones. He's posted a lot of drawings here. He loves filmation. He loves She-Ra. I don't blame him for that. But the thing is, the original She-Ra, that is. The thing is, Jeremy, is all of the things that I've said earlier about drawing apply to the work that you've posted. So this applies for many of the other people. You're focusing too much on drawing details, looking for accuracy, right? Accuracy, how many times are you going to shoot the arrow to hit the mark, right? You can take, if you've only shot an arrow 10 times, even if you shot it 100 times, you can take all the preparation in the world. Maybe if you got 1 out of the 100, maybe if you got 10 out of the 100, you'd say, well, I was pretty good. I got 10 out of the 100, but it's still pretty far from the 100, right? So you can spend all the time preparing about how to shoot the arrow. You can spend all the time reading about how to shoot the arrow, but you've only shot it 100 times, and, you know, how many times are you going to hit the center? This is the problem people have when they learn to draw, and then they go look for something else to draw. Now I've done that, now I'll look for something else. No, you haven't done it, all right? No, right? What are you looking for when you're doing it? You're looking for all of the stuff I was telling you. You're looking for the gestural shapes, right? What do I see here, right? You're looking for gestural shapes. Let's draw something that Jeremy and I both appreciate, you know, a posed female figure, right? There we go, looking for gestural shapes, right? You're looking for stuff like this. You're training your eye to see things like this, to take it further. Now, I've given plenty of examples in the stream. Just rewind and watch that. And you're also looking for shapes. You're looking for how things line up. Remember the hippo hair, right? Remember how all of this actually lines up, and then we got away into those shapes, right? Even this and this kind of line up, and we got away into that. All of this is a straight. So you're looking for stuff like this. This is the, the same drawing. So the drawing that you referred to, maybe you made this pose up. I don't know. If you're making poses up, I would still say look for that stuff, right? Look for that stuff. Now this one is more successful, Jeremy, than some of the other ones you've posted. But I would definitely advise you, if you want to get stronger and stronger, is to do things a little differently. What I do acknowledge though is I love the fact that I've inspired you with the blue and red pencil, and you made that post there, and it brought a smile to my face. I'm so happy that you're enjoying blue and red pencil, Jeremy. I love blue and red pencil. That's where my heart is. That's where my passion is. I'm so happy that people have watched my streams and decided to feel inspired and give it a go with the blue and red. So well done on that. I'm glad you're inspired. And I'm just sharing with you this information just because I care, and I would like you to move forward with your drawing. So take it in that way. Gerbis has posted the deadline to the animation project I'm part of will be in 3 weeks, and I'm struggling with time to get it all partly done. I remember this, but maybe this is only one of around 3 of my scenes. Is this the same scene? Is this the same scene, or is this different? Let me turn my heater off. I think she's tidying it up now. Nice. Ooh, nice. Very nice. One of the things you can do, which is what a lot of people do this, even in the professional industry, they switch between held cells, so the body's on a hold, and then you've moved the head hair. I don't know if this looks like it's not fully in between, right? So we need to slow in at the end there. But you may want to put a few blinks on the character hair while it's held in this place. Maybe twitch the nose a little bit, just to keep it alive. Maybe have it, its mouth go in and up and down. Just when I'm saying that, right, I mean just a hair's width. So if you're holding for 12 frames, right, so the mouth is like this in one frame, right, and then the mouth is kind of like this over 12 frames, right? So that's 12 frames is only like 6 drawings, and that's easy to in between, right? So you can keep the nose twitching on a 3-frame cycle, so 3, 6, 9, 12, right? So you can have the nose kind of like twitching on a 3-frame over the... So I don't know how many frames, so I'm just sharing with you about the law of timing, the way you can just keep things alive, give your limited animation a little bit more of a classier feel to a lot of the other people, just by throwing a little bit more stuff in there. So again, it stops it. So then here we change, and here's a bit of size increasing here, but it's okay. I love this. I love all this secondary action. Well done. Again, here as we kind of lock into this pose, maybe you want to just have it kind of like lower its shoulders, because it does come up kind of like high in this position here. So again, knowing a little bit of, I know you've only just finished the basics archive, Gerbis, so it's a pleasure seeing you produce this standard of work. But like, so the shoulders could come up, and again, just have them relax a little bit, because that's what would happen. Your scapula, or its scapula, would push up, and then it would relax down, and they would relax. Doesn't even have to be that much of a movement. If you want to keep it subtle, just make it smaller, okay? So then that will stop it from looking like it's locking into position. Everything kind of locks into position here. Eyes could blink a bit. This is nice. Ears come out together, but then as those ears come out together, right? You're seeing my animation direction here if I'm an animation director. So those ears come out together, right? So as the ear is coming out together, what'll stop the twinning effect? They should twin, okay? Sometimes it's nice to move them together. Just tilt the head to the side a little bit to change the pose and cause a little bit more movement on this ear. So again, you want that happening 6 frames. So towards the slow in time here, have this go head tilt like last 6 frames. Okay, so extend it by 6 frames, and maybe on the third slow in, so what this will take maybe 6 frames to reach this point. I don't know, quarter of a second. You could then add another 4 frames to make it a 10 frame slow in with this head. You could add another 6 to make it a full half second with this head moving like this, but then start the head movement while the ear is still. It will automatically, actually it doesn't matter, but you don't want the ears coming out and then the head moving. You want the ears coming out and then maybe, so say if it's 6 frames, maybe 4 frames in, then start moving the head, so you don't get this mechanical this moves and then this moves thing, right? You don't want that. That's what a bit that's going on here at the moment. All right, but that is it. Nice stuff. Nice stuff. Hopefully those pointers are some gold for you to that can help you through that. Here's Jeremy Jones. Thank you, brother. He's thanking me for the blue and red. For tuning me on this red and blue line art for compositions. I've never really garnered much attention with my art until now. Lots of majority of feedback is great to quote one person. It looks like a real cell. Okay, now that's good, Jeremy, but don't get lost in the praise. Okay, that's happened to me many times in my life, and I'm glad I'm inspiring people to pick up a red and blue pencil. But remember, right? What did Bruce used to say? Don't concentrate on the finger, or it is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all the heavenly glory, right? So, I'm pointing to the moon, the light of the moon, the truth, with this pencil, right? Now, this might be a blue color pencil or a red color. Don't concentrate on the pencil or you will lose all the heavenly glory, right? So it might be a very appealing method of doing things, but it is not the way. It's not the way, the truth, on the light, okay? Don't become a slave to that thinking that's the secret, right? But I'm not saying this to put a downer on anybody. I did it to inspire you all. I did it to all help you enjoy the power of red and blue pencil. It's why I'm here, to get people excited about drawing animation again, what I call real animator training. So it's fantastic that's happening, Jeremy, but I'm just also going to share this to you and anybody else. So here you are doing more She-Ra drawings. I'm sorry that you're not well, but again, take on board the things that I've been saying. In terms of the roughing aspect of the animation. Akao, I'm quite happy like you're posting this. You're not really explaining much, but I'm glad Eric is asking you. You're preparing for the dialogue test. I want to simplify the design and increase the appeal a little more first. Now, I'm going to tell you about that on some of the other poses you posted, because this one I actually like. This one has got a nice solid, this one is structurally sound, but I can see where you're kind of losing structure and you're falling back into perhaps old habits in the other head sheet. So when we come across that, I'm going to give you a little bit of help, my friend. Keith is still having lots of fun. Michael Elliott. It looks nice though, I have to say. I like your little effects here. You know what, Keith? If you watch, I don't even know you watch these things because I already said like I would like to see you practicing some of the training library exercises since you've invested in it, and I think they would really help you. But I think you're just using my knowledge to help you continue doing what you're doing, and that's what you love doing. So, as I said, I can't really give you any feedback because you're just Keith being Keith, and that's what you want to do, and why not? You're marketing yourself, right? So, what I would say is this kind of stuff would be great to put like memes or quotes or things if you want to get more attention on social media. This, because I do like the artistic style of it. I do feel that the stars and effects, if you're squashing and stretching the ball and giving this wing effect, but then the stars and effects don't really do much. Like as he lands on the floor, why don't we fill the screen with stars? Why doesn't why doesn't some of that big stuff come flying towards us and then subside, and we'll see it again with all those nice chalky colors that you've got there. But anyway, I won't linger too long on that. That's Keith having fun. Sheba Slump, what is... You see the danger of all this being posted with no description. I'm all for this. Sheba Slump, you follow me on my live streams. I don't think you're a library member, but I'm always grateful. You're always on my streams, and I'm gonna say things. I'm not gonna... But if you want feedback, especially if you're not a library member and you're posting stuff, then you got to explain why you're posting it, and you got to explain what your purpose was. Other than just don't forget to like and subscribe. This isn't the place to do that. You're not really this. People come here to learn. People don't. I've got a sizable number of people that actually want to learn, but this isn't the place to get noticed, right? That's not what real animated training's about. I've got a guy in here, Travis, right? Trained him up, produces amazing work. He's on Twitter to get noticed, right? He's got thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of views on some of his videos, and I'm so happy for him. And that's what he's using that for, right? But he comes and posts in here. He's posting in here with a purpose. He wants my feedback, and he's explaining what he was doing or whatever. So it's very, very different, right? So maybe think of it like that to people. So it's a nice drawing of a cat, Shiva Slump. It looks cute, but I don't really know what to say about it. Your style of drawing, I don't know what you're going for. It's got it almost leans towards cutout. So what I'm going to say is yes, I mean, if you want to fit things in a certain shape, it's got appeal. I do like the appeal. I do like the fact that you've got something like that going on with the ears. So there's nothing necessarily bad about what you've done here, and I don't know why you posted it, as I said, so I can only assume you're wanting me to say something about it, right? So you've got everything kind of fitting nicely, and it's a nice drawing. I'm just copying what you have very quickly here, but it's a little bit flat, and it feels like one of those kind of things that you could draw in Adobe Illustrator and just reuse and slide it about as an animation. It's so sad because I see a lot of Disney art of popular characters like 101 Dalmatians being done. It's almost like they've drawn half the drawing and then they've mirrored it to create the other Dalmatian's face. And, I'm saying to my wife, what the fuck has happened to this company, man? So you want to think about, if you're doing things, and also the scarf, right? Also, I think the shape of the body could be a lot more appealing, and the leaning of the scarf. Like here, you've kind of got the scarf a little bit like that, just around his neck. Is it a collar? Like if it's a collar, then I will show you how I would maybe play with this a little bit, right? But it's a nice drawing. It's got appeal. One thing that you have is the law of appeal going on. So well done. You can take the basic head like this, right? But then you can then start to think about bringing these things out. Now, you could angle it down, right? I don't know what the poses are. Then I would think about making the shape of these eyes less round and more just like cat-like and to the side, like just like that, right? Then maybe even if it's boss-eyed, maybe have this eye a little bit lower and this one a little bit higher, just to make it look a little cuter, right? Like that. And the nose have here. Then you've got kind of those little eyes that kind of lend itself to that shape, right? So you have something like this. Then this teardrop shape, you can push it more, right? You can push it more like this. Have this is going to come in around here, right? And the snout is going to be here, right? So it's still flat within here, but then if you want it holding a flower, make the flower big, right? And then I would play with the shape of the flower, make the flower a lot bigger, and I do like what you did with the ears, but I would push it just that little bit more, right? I would push the ears just that little bit more. Now I'm going to take away the big flower and talk about the collar, right? So he's got a much bigger body than I would have thought, so I would maybe make his body a little bit smaller and then play with the collar this way, coming down here like this, right? So these are some things that you could think about offhand to make it less flat and less programmy. It feels like it's been drawn by a computer program, right? So some of the things that you could think about if that's kind of like your style. Wait, check the comment. It just says adorable kitty. Okay, well, never mind. We'll keep. Ah, here we are. Here we are. Sharing some of my character designs for my final project in my art course. Would be interested to know which one's your favorite. Yes, I sense the aristocrats feel. I do like the Siamese one, but again, it all feels very graphic. Like you've got a graphic shape in Adobe. Like what I do like is you can see that you are having things lining up and following along, but it. And I know when I draw, I tell you to look for the simple graphic shapes and all that. But you've then got to start, and what I tried to show you as I showed you with this today, you've got to start seeing how things start marrying together and dressing the drawing to stop it from looking so graphic, right? So what I do like is yes, you've thought about things like that. But then, and the silhouette is good, the expression is good, but your shapes don't really, like this doesn't really work as a jaw. It's so dark, but I can see what you've done as the jaw, as the snout there. So I'm going to give you a little bit like, so again, let's take this back here. Again, what you've done is you've nicely gone in there and you've kind of created the negative space, which I talk about here, which is good, and then you've gone up here, but then your jaw doesn't really add up. You've kind of drawn a shape and drawn another shape, and it doesn't really have the anatomy in there. So, and it's looking kind of just graphic and, you know, like you've got the appeal. As I said, the shape is the law of appeal. So you definitely have the law of appeal going on in there. Now, I've done enough. I'm not going to just copy your drawing. So you can see that that has got the appeal of that. But these details aren't quite adding up. So we need to dress that up. We need to dress that up. So let me take the thing that I like about this, right? From a graphic point of view, right? Is the chest and the back of the head, right? Let's bring that in so you can see that. The back of the head and the chest. Now I'm pushing the chest more because we've got that same line here and the scarf here like that. So I'm gonna maybe push this pose here and bring his butt hair, like, so we got this line, this line, this line. Maybe bring his head down a little bit like that, right? So now this is coming here, this is coming here, right? This is coming out, right? This already speaks volumes more so than this, although I'm because of this, the straightness, right? So I want you to see that in this working here. So then what I can then start doing is thinking about the expression, right? We can think about the raised eyebrow and the more confused eyebrow, right? So he's got this kind of thing. And then I'll do the details last, right? So the snout and the mouth are going to be in here like this. So I'm kind of sticking with what you have, but just putting a little bit of pizzazz in it, right? I'm going to bring that further this way, right? Maybe bring that up that way. That's nicer, right? See, I'm not getting into the face, not getting into any of that, right? Now we can think about his arm and his other arm like that. I'm going to cut the drawing off here. I'm going to put that there like that. Then he's going to have his scarf. Now I'm going to make a big deal out of the scarf with the silhouette of the scarf, right? I'm going to think about that lining up with that, right? Coming over this side, right? What I like is the way you have a little bit of it going over him like this. Now subconsciously, you see how I've done that? Because I've trained myself, Mr. Leon. I don't need to think about it anymore. It just happens, right? Trained myself. If I would be thinking about how all of this lines up, it would drive me insane. And it probably is some of you, because you're trying to draw like that. But you're supposed to go through that phase when you're training. You're supposed to be struggling with the weight until it becomes weightless. And then you need to apply more to get stronger. Understand? Right? So this is going to be like that. Right, let's start to put some drawing. I like this drawing. Let's see where we go with it. It's got a peel. So I'm going to open this eye here like this. Go around. I'm going to create one eyebrow up here like this. Right, I'm not sure what that is, so I'm just going to put that in the middle. That's probably his marking, right? Now we'll think about the mask of his eyes, right? And I'm going to think about the roundness of his head, right? And the back portion of his head, like this. Now his snout, you kind of got as a straight line, right? So we want to imagine it. I'm going to rub this out, but I want you to kind of visualize what we're going to imagine. This is going to be the upper section. This is going to be the lower section, right? So we want it to have the anatomy in there. Right? So I'm going to put something like that in there. That's going to come in here. Now we've got the side of the head. Probably going to be a lot more graphic, but I'm going to put a few fur lines on there like that. Right? I need to think about the back of his neck now, because we're starting to move away from the anatomy of the animal, but that's okay. We put that line there because we want to push that, right? That's what the law of exaggeration is all about, right? I'm going to go in there and push these things. So now I've got to tone down the neck, but what that enables me to do is to think about the way the neck is pressing against there. Maybe I'll do something with his cheek there, I don't know, right? Get the whiskers out of the way. So that's more like the neck. Now the scarf is going to sit in here. Now that's one layer, right? And we're going to think about how that comes. I'm going to actually bury that in there like that. And I'm going to bring that around there like this. I'm going to use your basic drapery to make my own, right? Like that. So use these shapes. And this one I'm going to sit in there. This. I'll marry that up later. Have that like a collar coming through. That's the way I visualized it. If the silhouette visualization doesn't work, then it's fine. Don't do it. But I'm gonna try to pull these questions in and board. Now hair coming off hair is going to be this. Gonna have those going out more to the side like that. I'll have his back leg here like that. There. So very quickly offhand, we've got something that's a little bit more pushed, right? Than something that's very graphic, like you almost just looked at it like the tool, the shape, and things like that. So hopefully that gives you some idea. Again, this guy, his snout and all that stuff, it's just floating in his face, right? It's floating in his face. Really, you'd want to think of his head as a big shape like this, right? Then you'd want to have the snout coming down here and the chin inside it like this, right? Then his nose will be hair, right? You can't take away the dimension of the character, right? So we're going to give his jowls on the other side. So that's giving him some dimension. So then again, this is going to help with this. You see, again, the ears are going to be more to the side. When I do, this is a good talking point. When I'm doing my own project that you're seeing me doing, which is the groundhopper, I will draw him like this. I will rough him out like this, right? I'll rough something like this out, right? And it looks like exactly what you're doing there, right? It's just filling in a shape, no real, because it's rough, right? And it looks cool, but then when you try to color it in, and it's very simple, right? And then it starts to fall apart when you start to try to take it on. Now, some people might try to use shading to hide it, to make it, but if you want to start animating it, this is just a starting point to do the rough animation, right? If I'm gonna then go in here, I'm gonna then think about the structure, right? So along here, he's got a raised snout. His snout is gonna be coming out, and we may not even see this side of his snout, right? But it's enough to help me start to get the structure of the character in there, right? Maybe I'll put a little bit of a line there and take that out, right? And then when we're animating it, suddenly it may not look too different when we're looking at one image like this. But suddenly when he's moving around, right, he's going to start having a lot more structure and dimension to his face. And you're going to be able to cheat those shapes and turn those shapes and see where it all comes from and how he's able to look three-dimensional as we start to fill it out, right? Because at the moment it's still, I'm working quick, I'm explaining, it's still rough, but you can see I've given his snout some dimension, you know. Even if I want to change and add slight smirk to his face, this thing can't be floating on a flat plane, right? You got to think of it as a dimensional shape. Yeah, you know, thank you. The redesign of I don't know if you're talking about my redesign of your character, but the redesign of my own personal groundhopper, why I love it, is as I've gone back to Milk Carl, Robin Hood, really looked at his Robin Hood design. I'm not sure if I can remember it now, because I've been, you know, when it's not clear in my mind. And then it's simply just out to the sides, and then he's got the feather. I'm so used to now drawing my own thing that I've kind of, all of the study I did of Robin Hood is slowly gone. Well, not gone completely, but I'm now drawing my own groundhopper. But that was why I studied it, right? Not to be good at doing Robin Hood. So hopefully that gives you some insights. Patch Tunes, here it is, the final exercise in the Real Animator Training Basics Archive. I hope it's up to your standards, A and B. Well, the thumbnail certainly looks up to my standards. It was kind of rough and sketchy at first. It has to be, Patch Tunes. So I did try, although yes, this should be locked. I did try to tie it down and clean it up a bit. Was definitely a fun challenge to keep everything on model, and I think it turned out all right. There are any corrections I would like to make or review before going on to the intermediate archive? No, you can go on to the intermediate archive regardless. Please let me know. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look. I'm pretty sure this is going to be almost flawless from the patch. It almost is, patch. It looks fantastic. Very solid. You're selling the illusion of that head looking up and down. The body... Bum, bum, bum. I love the little forward lean in the body. But now, as he looks up, you see what happens here. I think either it's because of your line thickness. You've got a nice little forward lean in the body, which is slow, slow, slow. And then as he looks up, it kind of stretches up here, this bit. I'm exaggerating, but watch out for it. Look, it's here. And it creates a slight little awkward glitch in the body. It just catches the eye there as it goes above the shoulder point. So it's going down, 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 then one big frame up like a bouncing ball. We want it to continue up, but it goes in the other direction down again, right? So that takes my eye off all of the head. The first thing I looked at, Patch, when I looked at this animation was that, right? The rest of it seems pretty legit. Let's look at the actual head. If I'm having to do this with the head, it's okay. You've done a good job. Bum, bum. This neckline here is a little... I think we rub out a lot of those construction lines, so it doesn't matter. I'm not going to nitpick that. The head is very solid. It's very spherical. Yeah, you've kept it solid. That's the point of this exercise. Keeping everything solid and following a simple arc. Moving the head up, moving the head down. Keeping everything constant. Yeah, the speed in the body shift is almost perfect, right? I love it. It's just, yeah, if you wanted any nitpicks, it's just that beginning thing. Yeah, you can go on and AMB, why is sometimes the timing chart just a circle with a single frame? Sometimes a circle with the letter A. There is no need for a timing chart. You know what? I've personally never really gotten onto that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe, I mean, when I was animating, I would sometimes tell my assistant, look, stick to my drawings, don't necessarily follow a chart, right? So I would do that. I've not personally been in the environment where I've seen that, so that's not an answer that I can give you categorically. It could be that there's no in-between, nothing to be done on that drawing, nothing there. So also on a dope sheet, I'm trying to make sense of it, you'd have A, B, C, D, exposure sheet as all your levels here, right? And they might say drawing A has to be held for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames, right? So this is just drawing A, right? And then the animation will be on B. So B might be the head, right? And this is the body, right? So B will be B1, right? And then B, then the timing chart is all on B. Maybe that could be the reason, going back to the exposure sheet days. That sounds plausible, but again, I'm not sure. I'm 90% sure about my last comment, the one I've just talked about, the exposure sheets, but I can't say that I'm fully 100% sure. Dylan Doster, this is Chabella. Thank you all. Those of you who know, I encourage cat posts in this group, as long as they don't completely engulf the wall. I'm a cat person. I love cat posts, and I think I'd rather look at, they always used to criticize Facebook and say, who wants to see cat videos? I want to know what's going on in the news. I personally would have Chabela videos over the news any day, right? So thank you for that, Dylan Dolster. Bum, bum, bum. Edlin Ong, drop and dangle. She, I believe it's a she because Adeline or Adeline, please excuse me if it isn't, but I believe it's a she, has so far done flawless efforts of this training library videos. This one feels a little off. This one feels a little off. So the string's coming down. Maybe the string could be a little bit longer here, or straighter here as we bounce up into that effect. Yeah, this string is a little long here, and if it's okay to curl this a little bit on the bounce, but it's too short. It's too short for it to bounce up like that. So it doesn't feel, we don't feel the snap, right? We don't feel the snap. The string is too short, right? Boom. Then we slow in, and then it comes down again, and again the string is too short. It's getting smaller here. We need to continue the length of the string, right? It has to feel, this has to feel like this, right? Like this. Bum, bum, bum. Even this could be feeling a little too long. You see, this stuff is hard. This is actually a lot harder than people think it is. These basic fundamentals. And this is what happened with Octavio's arms. He was getting the arms of the character a little too long, and this is all about the arcing, right? So again, I'm drawing this to try and get the feel for the length of the string, as I'm just making this up. I can't remember what I did in that video, it was over 5 years ago, but the theory, right, is the string has to feel the same length, right? It has to feel like it's the same piece of string, right? If it gets too short, this is an exaggeration, right? Then the illusion will be lost. So while you've got the bouncing pendulum right, while you've got the bounce right, we're losing the feel. That feel, it feels off because the string is not to the right length in some of those things. Otherwise, the settle at the end, there's a little bit of traveling, and that happens on mine as well, but which is why I started doing this. If you notice in some of the videos, we don't want it going here or going here, right? We want it here. A little bit of that, but you don't need to worry about that, Adeline. You're going to do this so many times. In the next exercise, you're going to do it again, so no need to redo this. This is a good enough attempt, a good enough effort. Just be mindful of the length of the string. The settle to a stop is still nice, okay? And this is the secret to Sakuga. Because even if you get the movement which is slightly out, slightly wrong, the quick stuff, if you settle it nicely, if you slow in at the end nicely, suddenly it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice, right? So you know, just be mindful. So far, Adeline, you've been doing an amazing job with the training library posts. This is the first one where I think the length of the string has got you a little bit. Crystal, acting class forgot to make the extra cycle. Are you playing around with this one? Okay, is there a cycle in this? Okay. I didn't really, I mean, as I said, I find it fascinating people are following along to this video. It's not designed for that, but okay, no, good. Good stuff. There's not much I can tell you, Crystal. You're studying. You're taking notes from my seminar. Well done. It looks like you're picking the right things to look at. Face oddly stiff. You're giving yourself notes. Happy but shift sassy. Okay, I'm not sure what notes you're talking about. One of the things that'll help you, face doesn't look stretched. Why? Okay, one of the things that'll help you is the way the face is contained in all this. Now I did this drawing very quick with a character I kind of made up on the spot, so it wasn't. I'm gonna help Akao with a similar thing. But one of the things that makes the face squash and stretch is, now I designed her to be different to the usual typical Disney thing. So I'll show you the typical Disney thing because it's easier. I try to be a little bit different, right? Which sometimes I pull it off, sometimes I don't. In that raccoon, I half pulled it off. Okay, the easier one with the Disney thing, right, is you have a snout hair, and at the bottom you've got the face, right? I don't even remember how my raccoon goes, but if I was going to draw it now, I would probably do something like that, right? Right? Just probably more Disney-esque, probably a tad more appealing because it's something that we're all familiar with, right? Many times when I do things, I'm like trying to find my own way. But anyway, let's stick with the Disney one for now to explain to you why it's how to get the squash and stretch in the face, right? So the squash is just like a bouncing ball. We're going to squash the head, but we're not going to really squash the skull so much, right? What we're going to do is I'm going to squash the ball, but I'm not going to think of the head being completely squashed, even though I'm squashing the ball, right? I'm going to think more of the cheeks, and I'm going to bury the snout up, right? The snout's going to come up. The mouth is going to squash in, right? All this kind of thing, right? The cheeks are going to come down, right? This is all going to be squashed like this, right? So the head, right? Maybe I'll bring the ears down just for effect, right? So the head keeps its mass hair, but the squash occurs at the side. And then what also helps the squash is what's happening with the body, right? So we'll see this hair, but then here we'll see, this will be kind of more in, maybe pushing shoulders against their cheek being pushed, right? So this gives it a bit of a squash. The drawing's a considerable bit bigger, so we'll just make it more to size so we can see that squash happening, right? So now the stretch is the same deal. So I may stretch this thing a little bit, but not too much, because the head, right? I'm going to stretch the eyes, right? But more or less this is the same mass, right? I'm changing the angle, but it's more or less the same mass. The stretch is going to occur, so we've got the snout here, right? Got the snout here, up here. The stretch is going to occur here, so I'm going to drag that down, right? Up here like this, right? We're going to bring that in, and then the stretch is going to happen around the side. And squash and stretch on characters like this is subtle, right? This is not one of those Warner Brothers characters, right? It's got more of that kind of like Disney realism, even though it's a cartoon realism, right? So it's squashing and stretching, but it's squashing and stretching in a subtle way, right? It's not the kind of squash and stretch where you would see Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck, you know, insane kind of like even those guys. I don't think I've drawn Daffy Duck enough to know how he would. That feels more like a weird Donald, but anyway, I'll make my own duck up, right? So these guys would, you know, have this kind of stuff, but even this head bit would be kind of like, I put the head there, see I put the spear there, but even the head would be the same kind of this would be more like this. And then all the stretch would still be happening in the mouth, right? I'm just scribbling here because I'm making characters up. I can't remember Daffy Duck or Donald Duck offhand. Well, Donald, yes, but he wouldn't do anything like that. So those characters will be a lot more extreme than even something like this. You see, this is subtle squash and stretch, subtle Disney realism, right? So don't expect those drawings to squash and stretch too much. Another thing that's happening in these poses, we've hit the 3-hour mark, so I might stop after Akal. Another thing that's happening in these poses is the eyes. Now a lot of people, and I've noticed it in the cuddly toys that we buy, as the anime craze is big here, anime tends to have this very pasted on style of drawing. So whether it's a beautiful woman, right, with all this very realistically flowing hair, you know, and a collar coming out here like that, right, it'll have this very kind of flat, almost pasted on, where the detail would be in the fat heavy eyebrow, right? No, eyelash, sorry. and the glint in the eye, right? That's where the detail is, but everything is very, very flat, right? And then you'll go in here and you'll add all these shapes of shadow that'll make it seem like it's such a complicated drawing, right? One here, a couple of lines going on here like this, detailed shadow going on in here, but it's extremely flat. It's appealing, but it's extremely flat. And it doesn't matter if it's this kind of drawing or if it's a cute anime cat, right, with big round. Now I can't really do that stuff because I haven't looked at it, but I'm thinking more of this kind of stuff where it's extremely flat. Now I haven't really looked at any of those chibi or whatever things, but they're in my mind. I'd need to go away and look, but it's flat. Now when you're doing this kind of Disney thing, you got to respect the medium is this is space, all right? This is why I consider real animation the most powerful medium. We're not a flat 2D puppet that only understands 2D, right? We're drawing marks to create our own dimension. So we can create the illusion of any kind of 3D, 5D, whatever D we want, we can create that but it's got to kind of work, so we think in 3D, but we can cheat, we can push. But we want our eyes to feel like they're not flat. We want them to feel almost like they're embedded in something, right? When we're doing this kind of, we'll even add a bit of a cheek. So even though the eye seems a lot more cartoony than the anime eye, it's got a lot more sophistication and depth in it in order to create the illusion. So when you're doing these, you can't paste the eye on like an anime or a lot of these people that are doing furry fan art. It always looks very amateur because they love it. I mean, good for them. They love their style of drawing, but they're putting all these very square kind of eyes that don't really sit on the face of these things. And so you need to think about that when you're doing this kind of stuff. So all your previous drawing habits may be kicking in there. And I'm here to bridge the gap. I'm here to guide you and help you understand of how to get that professionalism into your drawing, which is a lot of these people are missing from their self-teaching, okay, which is why things aren't looking right. Okay, so we have got Akao here. I was working on some self-portraits and I was inspired to implement the red and blue pencil. Again, I love the fact that Akao is doing that. Now, some of these drawings, Akao, seem a little lopsided from one side to the other. It looks like you're using lots of realism where you get these nose effects and things. I know this is none other than you, and you're my handsome friend. All go and check him out in his video, sharing out his skills and how to do 2D animation. I'm going to help you get structure, Akao, because again, here you're using 3D, you're using shading, to help all that, and you're trying to make this like, maybe you're trying to use a bit of Ron Husband Atlantis in there. I can see influence from some of this, which I know that you were looking at, and you're trying to play with the expression. You're moving, you don't want something completely Disney, I get it. You want something a little bit more maybe a little bit more like the stuff you grew up on, like Transformers and whatever, and you want to throw a bit of Disney appeal in there. This is the most successful drawing for me because you've got that structure in the head. You've got the inset eyes. Now, one of the things I'm going to really help you with is the mouth, right? A lot of people really struggle with good mouths. Even though you've done anatomy in terms of the maxilla and the mandible, a lot of people can't quite get it. And the thing is you've got to understand the orbicularis oris, right? So if you have the maxilla around here, let's just do all the teeth for effect. The 2 premolars, the 1, 2, 3 molars, right? So you have this, then you have the mandible, right, coming around here, and then these are going to be all set in like this. I got to say Charlene again, right? So there we have, right, the skull, a little bit of it. Let's just put in there like that, right? So the orbicularis oculi, right? No, the orbicularis oris. Let's see what that is, right? So let's knock that back. It's like a rubber ring that goes around the mouth, right? And that's where your lips get formed, right? And you can't put it all the way back here, and then you've got all the attachments, the zygomaticus, the zygomatic major, the the buccinator, the mandibular, the mentalis, the nasalis. Well, we can talk about all those later. I don't really want to. I just want to talk about this, right? So the easy way to remember drawing a good mouth is to think of the shape that you want to make. So let's make an A shape, right? So now the maxilla is going to be all the way here, and the jaw is going to be here, right? So the rubber ring is going to be curling around, right? Like that, right? So you don't always see. So again, here, if you want to do like, I tend to draw mouths in these predetermined shapes that I'm used to making. But if I want to think about it, I can break this down and break this down of the rubber ring, right? And that'll level it up. And then I'll start joining them together, right? Like this. So even if I want to have someone shouting, I might have the mouth open like this. I'm going to say, where's the jaw, right? So this is the front. Let's make it 100% symmetrical, right? So we're going to dig into that. There won't be much movement on the upper, right? It's always the lower, right? So then this is going to come in and fold underneath, and it's going to go the other way like that, in line with that. And then we're going to see some teeth, right? Let's see some teeth like that. So even then you want to play with the jaw, right? You want to have the jaw going to one side, then you're off center, right? So you can have something like this. But then you got to play with the angle. Now the way you tie it all in to the face is this fold of skin here, the smile lines, right, in relation to the nose, right? So this would be more up, but then depending on the angle of the face, right, how much of this are you going to see? Then you got all this on either side, right? So this kind of frames in there, around there, right? So it's a ring within a ring if you're going for this realism look, right? It's a ring within a ring for the mouth. So let's just take this head that you've got here. It's a very lopsided head, right? You tend to do that for some reason. I'm not sure why this happens. Maybe sometimes the angle. Now I'm going to take a face like this. Now the eyes are, eye line is off, right? You're separating. You understand anatomy, but you're putting this floating features, which is maybe. I'm not saying that I know that you're not 100%. You like anime, but you don't hate anime. You like it. I like it, but you're perhaps not 100% inspired by it. But that whole anime thing of the floating eyes on the face, the flat face, that's their style. They're quite happy to bury a face in amazing kind of, even if it's like a small hairstyle, right? They're quite happy to bury a flat face in colors, a small hairstyle, and they don't mind, right? That's their style, right? That's the way they draw, right? But when you're trying to do these malleable expressions, you're going to want to go back to the basic structure. So I'm going to take this head that you've got here and I'm going to do an interpretation of it, and maybe you can see what I do and decide if there's anything that you can use, right? So I'm going to take it that your character, if I was going to think about his frontal features, I would say he was like almost like a rugby or a football, American football. In England we do rugby, or New Zealand even more now, rugby, right? And then you can put the features around there, and then you got this beard section here. I would play a bit with that beard and square off some of that, right? Like this. So I'm just looking at your drawing, and I'm just trying to break it down into essence, Akal, for me to I'm designing my own Akal the Warrior, right? So the nose is obviously wide, right? And then you've got the Akal has just got the most. If Akal could do late night food commercials. He's got such a soft yet manly voice. Seriously, it's just so cool. So I'm just finding an essence of something to work with that I can bring into my. Now here I will solidify it off to the side like this. All right. I'm not even going to try to impersonate Akao. I wish I could. Now I've been doing animation a long time, and I've become a warrior. Akao the Warrior. He's just such a cool voice. If Akao could act, I would get him in doing a voice in one of my shows. Right, so there we go. I've taken like a little bit of the essence of what I could see in this and turned it into a simple shapes for me to kind of work with and look at your drawing. So you always want to get the eye line. Forget the expression. Get the eyes first, right? Then play with the expression over with the eyes on the eye line, right? Now your nose is just one down below. So I will round it everything off. This is just for my own personal, like the law of appeal. Like I want to cartoonify it. I'm going to put it in some kind of appeal. I think I've got a cool kind of character here, like Akao. Yeah, I like that, like Samurai Jack Akao. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, so here, now the chin and everything is going to go in here and the jaw is going to go here, but I want to get back to the mouth, right? You're kind of like making a shape with the mouth where you've looked at a real mouth, obviously, to get that. But I'm going to think of it like a square, and I'm going to simplify the lips a little bit, right? I'm just going to make something like that. You see, contour that, and this same thing. I don't want to put structure in there yet, though, but maybe you can see where I'm going to go with that, right? Now I'm going to lean that over to the side a little bit, right? To give the character a little bit of jaw movement, right? Over to the side, right? That. So now I'm going to go back to the whole football thing, right? And I'm going to make your ears the same shape as that football, rugby ball thing, just to keep some continuity in the character, right? Like that. Now I'm going to rough in what I think. I'm trying to inset the eyes, right? I'm going to give him those kind of like half, like not completely open eyes, to give him that relaxed feel. But I want to work on insetting these eyes, right? Maybe what I'm doing here is a little too Disney-esque for you, but it doesn't matter. I want you to understand. I don't want the eyebrows to feel like they're just floating on the face here. I want to put structure in them, right? So I'm gonna come out here, and I'm gonna think about this mask. I'm gonna bring it up like this. I'm gonna bring this one up. Think about the mask coming up from the side of the head where the zygomatic bone is, right? I'm gonna have there. Then we're gonna put maybe just a little 2 creases up there, not too much. We want to have anatomy, but then strip it away for some appeal, right? Now here we're going to have the wide nose like this. So I'm thinking of the round in the middle and the nostrils on either side, right? But what I want to do with this nose is I want to play with the squash and stretch of it coming forward like this, right? So while it was looking nice, I want to challenge it a little bit, right? Put this one more down like that. I don't know why I'm getting Sagat's theme music when I'm drawing Akao. Akao is he's a kind and gentle soul. He's not a big monster like Sagat. Making him talking like that man in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, who lost his eyesight, Duncan. What manner of name is Akao? Here we go, right, so there's, I hope I've got Akao laughing in all of this. Now let's talk about the mouth. So you see I've got this square shape which I've kind of got off to the side. Now you can make the lips a lot bigger if you want, which is what Akao is pushing for. So I'm going to treat that as the square there and the square here. Now he has gone for the realism of dividing that in half. I'm not going to do that so much. I'm going to play with the cartoon simplicity and take that out, right? And bring this out to the side and bring this in more like this. I'm going to tidy this up so you can see how it works, right? Now we're going to bring the teeth of this one in here, and I'm not going to show the bottom teeth, right? So I'm going to have it like something like this. Now I'm going to have a little bit of his zygomatic bone there and play with the cheek to give him that level of realism, right? Like this, right? Now I'm looking at this for a reason, because I'm wanting appeal. So then when you want to do the beard, you want to think about framing everything. So I'm going to come a little bit lower here, and I'm going to make a nice graphic shape. And then I'm going to use this bit of the mouth, right, to kind of frame everything nicely, right? So I'm going to frame that. Then I'm going to think about how I'm going to bring that in. Maybe like that. That'll do. I think I've done a pretty good job at capturing the handsome devil that is Akao. Not that he's not a devil. He's a kind and gentle soul. I won't have you say anything bad about him. I don't know why I'm thinking of that man in Prince of Thieves. Just a random shit that flies through my head sometimes. Right. So we've got an expression here that I don't want to fiddle around with and play too much with. But hopefully, Akao, you can see that I've really looked at structure while also using simple graphic shapes like football or whatever, right? For some reason, I want to make him... I see Akao being like me. Like, I've got to a certain age. I'm in my 40s. I think so is he. And I see him being wearing these kind of jumpers like that. It's funny because I haven't met him in person, but I feel like I know him. I feel like he's one of my close friends. So I'm going to tidy this drawing up a bit. But you can see where we're going with this, right? Since this is the last drawing of the day, I'm going to tidy it up. And I'm going to do a silhouette pass of the head Akao, right? I'm going to do a silhouette pass of the head to see where all this is. It looking good, right? Let's do the usual flip selected scene. Yeah, it all works. Now this is all very well getting it nice like that, but now we're gonna try. Now we have to make it fit, right? So I'm gonna come in with the upper eyelids, maybe put a fold of skin, straight fold of skin for the eyelids, and keep them nice and graphic, and make his eyes like a traditional kind of Glen Keane iris, right? I have that here. Again, we've got that there. Now I'm going to heavy the eyelashes just to give a hint of anime. It's not anime, nowhere close. But just to give a hint, some mixture, right? Now we're going to throw in the eyebrows, and I'm going to put a little bit of a pull on that eyebrow, but not so much on this one. Keep them thin and thicken them at the very end. There we go. Who would have thought that I'd be doing a drawing of Akal the warrior in this stream? It's a shame he's not online, you know, because he would be insisting to have the theme music either instruments of destruction, instruments of destruction, tools of our blade, or he would have you got the touch, da, 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 da. You got the power, yeah, there he is, the mentor, Akal. I'm gonna put a few lines in there to give it the nose some volume. I don't want to close that line. I'm gonna keep the lines a little bit broken because it helps sell the ethnicity of the character. Sometimes if you close the line, you take away the volume, right? So here we have the upper lip. Now, upper lip is going to have this portion, right? It's all coming in from here and here. And we're going to bring that down in here. And then that's going to come to the other side there, but we're going to go around and in. And we're really going to play with the volume of the lower lip, right? And that's going to curl around there like that, more like that kind of shape, right? Now here's where we put in the teeth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 incisors, and you can think about putting in a little bit there if you want, but I wouldn't. I would just put the tongue in there and let the shading in the mouth do the talking, so you have something like that. Then we have the chin. With the chin, I may put a little bit of hair like this. Right. But you got to be careful, because even though I have a lot of black friends and they do have straight hair on their beard, it's not like a squiggle. For some reason in the realm of drawing, you can really take away the ethnicity of the character by giving it the sort of strands of hair. So you got to be really careful, because we're selling an illusion, and I want to really sell the ethnicity. One of the things is really challenging in the realm of 2D animation and hand-drawn animation is really getting a character to feel like they're of that ethnicity, and you haven't just drawn somebody who's got Western European or Caucasian features and just colored their skin dark. You know, it's a skill to definitely possess. So this is going to come in and straight around there. I want to think about the negative space between there. I don't want it to be 100% parallel. There we go. Let's now put a few marks on there like that. Let's put a little bit of temple bone, temple arch there. Okay. I almost don't want to rub that guy out, but there we go, Akal. So in simple line work, I like my more graphic cartoon thing, but that's just me. Maybe Akal should be the thumbnail for the stream. Maybe. But I tell you what, I'm not going to delete this drawing because Akal may want it. Right? So if he wants it, all he has to do is request it to me, and I will post it in the group for him. Oopsie. Just going to get a little bit of the beard in there. Oh my God. Seriously bad. There we go. So there it is. All right. Now, as I said, I've been away. We've now hit the 3 hours 34 mark in the stream. And I have been away for 10 days. And there's Hungming Hui's anatomy. It's good to see Hungming Hui back. And he's filled the wall with a lot of this stuff, but I'm not going to ignore it completely because I want to. It's amazing. And Dylan Dorster is sharing anatomy stuff as well, so I'm not going to be able to talk too much about it, but I want to talk about it a little bit at least, right? And give these guys who've been working so hard some time. Selena Nina, of course, has worked very hard in redoing the intermediate archive, just like Octavio has worked really hard in doing the basics archive, and I definitely want to give her some time, even though she's pretty much nailed it. Cameron has worked hard. Simon, he told me how to pronounce it, Baudouin. Simon Baudouin has worked hard. There's a lot of people who I want to give some time. I don't know why every time I see a drawing of this Simba, I don't think of Lion King and Simba anymore. I just think of Angela Jade Martinez. That's what I think of. I just think of light fantasy. Simba is no longer Simba in my eyes. It's light fantasy, right? So and then I want to give Pedro some time. I haven't even looked at this. It looks like Pedro's starting to do acting, and I'm interested, but I'm going to save it. But before I do anything, I'm going to at least acknowledge Peter Metal, who I will be looking at your work on the next stream, Peter, because I saw you posted a test, but it's just 3 hours 36 minutes in. But I'm going to say Peter Metal is busting out this hoodie that I completely forgot I released with the old Groundhopper design on it, but I'm so happy he's busting it out. Thank you so much for supporting AMB Animation, Peter, and buying this hoodie. Thank you so much for supporting me, but also I'm so happy that you chose this particular one because animation law, as you know, is what it's all about, and animation law is why what you're learning at the moment. So thank you so much for sharing the AMB hoodie animation law with us. Really appreciate that, and I will be looking at your work along with others in the next live stream. This is a bit more stuff, not as much stuff as I thought to cover, because there's a lot of fan art and stuff on the wall, and I've already helped people talk about drawing a lot, like the He-Man and all that, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on those posts, but there are some of these posts that I am going to want to look at and give some time and attention to. So I will be returning to the wall to look at more posts later this week. We may do another stream in between to keep things moving and not so samey. So that's all for now. We're going to leave it there. We leave it at the Akal post, and we're going to look at more stuff in another live stream. Right, so but what I am going to do is I am going to come on the camera and just to all of you who have been watching me just give you a little bit of my time before I go, because you've all been here in the comments chatting away. I haven't really looked at anything that's been said while I've been um, helping the people in the great growth, development, and progress community improve themselves. But then, of course, I'm so grateful to all you guys, some of you in that community who are still on the stream with me. I know it's quite late for some of you. Um, I'm just going to skim through some of these comments and see if there's anything I can answer. Ba-ba-bum. Hangming Hui is back. I noticed that. He is back. He is here. He has been away. So, you have returned. Well, what have you learned, youngling? Share it. Share it with me and all your brethren. Waiter, what would you like? Client, the usual. Yes, you did, Zentron. Yes, you did. Oh, that was the thing about future streams. The Pro Archive, yes, there will be a Pro Archive. Yes, the industry will certainly benefit. Patchtoons is here. I'm currently trying to get a job in the film industry. Competition is ballsy in Florida. How about yourself? Him and Red Fox are catching up with each other. Good for you, Tetro. Living the dream. Try, fail again, fail better. There is no failing. There is no failing. Everything you call failing is like defining it as failing is taking one step forward and two steps back. Because the failing, there is no trying and there is no failing. Trying is failing. There you go. I take it back. Failing exists. How can you fail? To try, right? Don't try, do it. Do it. When you do it, there is no failure because you're doing it. It's a process. It has to happen. Either you do it or you don't do it. If you don't do it, you're not doing it. And if you're doing it, you're doing it. There is no failing when you're doing it. Right? So, eliminate try from your vocabulary unless you want to try at certain things you don't care about, and that's all right. You don't mind failing. Somebody wanted you to try a dish that you knew you wouldn't like, and just to make them happy, you tried it, right? Fair enough. But when it comes to animation, never try. Just do. I'm animating while watching. I'm puppeteering while watching. Yes, quite right, quite right. Insolence. Animating while watching. Puppeteers. Character is running out of the shot into the camera, and she has a medical coat. Okay. Medical coats don't really do much follow through, overlap, and drag. I have to separate everything in layers. Head is a layer, hair is a layer. Oh my god. Can we all have a minute of silence for the departure of Mr. Leon? It's great to be back. Octavio, why I would need to have to rewatch the feedback a couple of times more. Thank you. My pleasure, Octavio. You worked so hard. It's the least I could do. Yep, that they are, Charlene. That they are. Charlene's with her veggie vegan pizza. I got the pizza dough made from the bakery section. Charlene, you know I'm since my holiday, it's like 4 and I haven't eaten anything since I've gotten up except for having had a cup of coffee because I'm doing my intermittent fasting now, right? I've got to stay in my physique. You know, I've had 10 days of complete feasting and revelry, merrymaking. Now it's all got to be subsided. And here you are on my live stream telling me how it's simply a veggie vegan pizza. I got pizza dough from the bakery section, made a homemade sauce, and added. Oh, I can't read that. And I'm going to break my fast with some yogurt, almonds, and a banana. There we go. Thank you, Charlene, for making me feel very inspired. Spinach, tomatoes, onions, spicy peppers. Once done, I add basil and parsley. Okay, there you go. Amazing. Um, Shiva slump watching the Aristocats stuff, reminding me that it was a proper post. Facebook is playing up. Hung Ming Hui pointed something like that out. I've searched on how to do heat wave distortion effects in my editing software, but I was wondering, do you know how they would make it back in the day? They would use the same kind of camera bending effect. I'm not a master at that kind of stuff. I wouldn't know, but they would use gels on the camera, stuff like that. They would still use the camera, a lot of camera effects for things like that. Maybe if they were really animating some kind of distorted haze, they would animate it, but I don't think so. They would use color and lighting and gradient and like have a washed watercolor drawing, but they would also enhance it with focusing and that kind of stuff. I think the issue with how I draw is that I start rough and clean it straight away. Nothing wrong with that, but don't jump too quickly into cleanup. You know, explore, experiment a little, look for better shapes. Okay, that's the question from Mr. Leon about the timing chart. Zentron's got a good idea. The thing is don't, for certain effects, don't shun the technology. Like, even back in the day, they would rotoscope mechanical objects because it was a lot quicker and it was a lot more accurate. And a lot of energy wasn't wasted in an effect that wasn't primary to the scene. Like the cage that Pinocchio was swinging in was rotoscoped as he was talking, and to Stromboli. Nobody's going to be looking at the cage of the, all that. They're more interested in Pinocchio, and all the effort in maintaining the volume and 24 frames a second on some of those films. Why? It's pointless. So these tools are there to help and to be used to enhance the artistry of what you're doing. It's like you can't paint without the paintbrush. You need a better paintbrush with certain kinds of hair. You need a dry brush, wet brush, whatever. You can't say, well, I'm only going to do it this way because it's more heroic and valiant of me to do it. No, everything, even the most basic thing, can be made better by enhancing your tools a little bit, right? So yes, we are hand-drawn animators, we're real animators, we're dealing with character animation, we're doing frame-by-frame drawings of animation, but we still want to be efficient, right? And even back in the day when they didn't have computers, they were efficient with that, as efficient as they could be with that. I kind of messed up the proportions on the torso. You are pretty damn close. You don't need to clean it any more than that. CG Tunes, hello to you. I've never fully understood the red and blue pencil lines. Yeah, you normally have a rough color, a tie-down color, and then a final line color. Also, you use it to show different shades or different what's to be drawn, outlined differently. Hey, so does anyone know if I have a schedule? No, I don't have a schedule. Never had a schedule. The only thing you can count on, unless I've gone away, and I can't even guarantee that, is I try to do my weekly wall review streams every Monday or Sunday. I'm doing it Sunday today, New Zealand time, which will be probably a good 12 hours or 6 hours ahead of everyone else, you know. So bum, bum, bum. I promise A and B when I finish the full body turnaround I'll post a picture of Felix and a drawing of Skeletor. By then I will be knowledgeable of the muscle. Skeletor, you have to draw a picture of you next to Skeletor. Um, I don't know why, but no, you need to be driving an old 1950s car, classic car, like Christine in the Stephen King novel, and it has to there has to be Skeletor somewhere in it. I don't know the crap that goes on in my mind. I don't know. What that's got to do with Charlene, I have no idea. I'm so sorry about that, Charlene, but it's kind of stuck. Um, I'm considering sending a self-portrait of myself to have an excuse to call me a stud. There you go. Um, you don't need me to do that, Zentron. You can do that yourself. Call yourself. He made me a mischievous character. I'll be looking at that, Pedro, in the next live stream. Akal the thumbnail, Akal the warrior. Facebook seems to be showing up, maybe because Michael Elliott, being the amazing man that he is, giving everybody support, not just me, is commenting on people's individual posts. And isn't that wonderful that he's doing that? And the group is updating the wall with those individual posts that he's commented on. So I don't mind if that happens. That's a very good reason. I'd rather have a group where the members actually got positive feedback or some kind of comments on their work than just being ignored, you know. So I can live with that glitch in Facebook. I can't wait to continue learning in the intermediate archives. Is there anything I should focus on? No, Patchtunes. Just follow the guidance in the archive. You're already doing such a great job. Just follow the guidance in the archives. If I could say anything, just make sure you don't fall into a trap of copying my poses and not taking it, because even though the videos are done in a very lengthy roundabout way where you follow everything I do and I explain to you and I repeat myself and I'm explaining everything, you can still, because the human animal for what it is, fall into the trap of just saying, have I got the drawing right? You know, just make sure you're actually applying what's being said. That's the only thing. If you invented animation today with all the tools you have today, how would you invent animation? Ask the inventor. I'm the reinventor. Okay, I'm reinventing it. I need, you know, I'm like Glenn Keane in that regard. Okay, I need to say something first before I can I can't, you know, I can't erase the milk cow, all the cool stuff from my head to consider inventing it. Maybe if I meditated for a week, I could give you a quarter decent answer to that question. But offhand, I know I'm very good at just off the cuff answering stuff. But no, offhand, I would just say I'm happy being the reinventor. Okay, so you're going to build on it a little bit, Red Fox. Well, I am going to be looking at more posts in another stream. But between that stream, I'm going to be returning to the effects archive. So we might do or the Sakuga archive. We may do one Sakuga stream before looking at more people's work, just to keep the wall, just to keep the week's live streams a little bit fresh and not just all the time scrolling through the Facebook wall, because some people like to watch other types of streams that I do as well. So don't worry, people in the wall who worked hard. Oh, it was a question from Glenn Keane in the interview. Well, no wonder that got me stumped, you know. I'm sure that he would put me through my places if I was to encounter such a beast of animation. You know, I could learn a heck of a lot from a beast. I can't think of any better word in the most complimentary fashion, like such as Mr. Keane. What an amazing question. There you go. There you was, Mr. Leon. You had me thinking that was you. You had me thinking you came up. He came up with it. All right then. All right, that is it. That is it, people. I am going to now break my fast with my 3 spoons of Greek yogurt, a cup of almonds, and a banana. That's not bad. Let me see. I didn't eat 8 o'clock last night, and it is now 4:13. I can't be bothered to work out the maths. That's a good enough fast. Okay, I will see you all. Max Power. Oh, see you later. I will see you all on the next stream. Bye bye, Kitchen Cat, Zentron, Mr. Leon, Red Fox, Hungming Hui, Patch Tunes, Live Fantasy. Did I say Zentron? Yes, I did. And all of you who stuck with me throughout the stream. I'm hoping Akao checks this out at some point. See you later. Bye bye. And remember, keep it real.